good evening everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely impossible scene. This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the PSGL YouTube channel once again for round 2 of E-Series Season 6, brought to you by Sim Racing Centre. And today we head to Brazil, a track that has hosted 3 races in the past. Back in Season 2, it was the season ender of Season 3, and the same for Season 5, of course. Tess and Veloce Academy both remember very well Brazil in Season 5. Of course, that was where Tess unfortunately lost their, I think it was 9-race-long championship lead to Veloce Academy, who took a 1-2. So I'm sure everybody remembers this track very well for E-Series. And one thing that you also know, Corey, as well as me, is that qualifying here is insane. And on a grid like this, with so many drivers that are near the top end of F1 Sim Racing, I'm sure we're going to get lots of surprises in qualifying in the race for sure.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there, Nathan. This track is very, very fast-flowing. Qualifying times down to about 1 minute and 6 seconds to see how quick these drivers really push those limits of those cars. And it also goes to say, these top-tier drivers here in E-Series, they did the qualifications to get in here, as well as the pro drivers from the pro teams, all competing in quality. It's going to get very, very close. Could come down to the tenths of a second, to 100ths or even 1,000ths between pole and heartbreak for those behind.
Certainly. And I remember, I think it was E-Series Season 2, there was, I think it was Istvan Pukki back when he was in Ferrari and Max Wiesel for TF10. Those two had the exact same lap time at the end of Q3. It was either that or it was like 1,000 separating the two. So qualifying for pole, it's going to be a look of the draw, I think, tonight, more than pure pace and skill. But let's have a look at the standings and see how things look after our first opening round. And of course, it's Ferrari who lead the way, 48 points, but they're only 3 points ahead of FVR. Of course, Barry Burrament, who finished second to make it a Ferrari 1-2, received a 10-second time penalty for his collision with Kin Gonadorp, meaning he dropped down to P9. So Ferrari sit on 48, FVR in second on 45, and then a 10-point gap back to Williams, their best start, I think, since Season 2, on 35 points, 3 points back from them. It is R8 GE Sports and then Red Bull finishing off that top 5 on 31 points. And then below we have FRT, surprisingly, 24 points on their first opening round. They're around 6 points ahead of Venturi on 17 in 7th place. And we have Veloce Academy, Alpine and McLaren, 8th, 9th and 10th. Now, I didn't expect to see those teams down at the bottom. Big surprises for those, and lots of, they need lots of pace and they need lots of positions today if they want to move back up in towards that top 5. So, yeah, interesting standings after round 1, Corey. I think the surprise of them all is FVR being up in second. If you remember, they've never finished above 8th at all in E-Series, and they've had 3 seasons here.
Yeah, absolutely. The 3rd season running, or 4th season running when they've got in here. And they are second, so highest points finished so far on a season opener. Sits themselves there, second in the standings. They'll be feeling mighty confident coming here into Brazil. This is where things could get close and maybe score back some crucial points. But that gap as well, let's not forget, is only so close to Ferrari, with Barry having that 10 seconds and losing crucial points. Ferrari dominated last time out, and can they do the same here and hold another 1-2? They seem to be a force to be reckoned with those two very quick drivers. We can take a quick look at the lineup of the drivers you shall see taking to the tarmac tonight. We have in the Red Bulls Kian Gordondorp and Jonas Ozildrim. rocking it out with the navy blue Red Bull team. Onto the Williams, Ruben Pedreño and Nilson Alves as well. We see those third in the standings. Could those two drivers potentially pull back higher points and potentially keep them up there in a fighting chance at the championship? Julian Klappenbach and Reese Linton line up R8G onto Alexander Damas and Reyes Imtiaz in Venturi. Otis Lawrence, Danny Berezne, as we expect in that Alpine team, with Xander Van Deeken and Philip Prejnader in the McLarens. Barry Burman and the debut of Angelo Di Ortenzio in the Ferrari team. We saw the dominant drive from Ferrari last time out, Barry Burman and Ishmael Fassi, but here we have Angelo Di Ortenzio making his debut to help Barry along to see what can happen there. Max Pointner, sorry, I can't say that name, I'll learn you, and Rihard Sprogis in FBR, and then Tony Hitala, Sergio Sabrino in Veloce. Finishing off in FRT, the surprising team from out of Norway, Campbell Adams and Florian Van Zeltner. Oh, lovely stuff.
There we go. A very intense grid tonight. And what we'll do is, we're about to go trackside, but we do have a friend of ours, Formula Kai, who's actually done a little hot lap video for us. So we'll quickly have a word with Formula Kai and see what he thinks about this circuit.
Hello everyone, Formula Kai here, and let's jump on board for a lap around Brazil for the upcoming round of E-Series brought to you by Sim Racing Center. Break right at the 50-meter board for turn 1 using the AstroTurf to extend the track and shore shifting on exit for maximum stability. Stay close to the inside to minimize driving distance, turning on DRS, using battery till about 65%, coming up towards turn 4, stay in 5th gear for more minimum speed, the car can more than handle it. Again, using the line of least resistance, coming up towards the fast right-hander, very easy to unsettle the car on the inside curb, and very easy to invalidate on corner entry here. Keep flirting with the track limits, use aggressive steering to manhandle the car into the corner, and stay in 3rd for this long uphill left, using all the curb on the exit, a quick tap on the brakes, and trail brake into the corner will see us through turn 10. Being precise on the inputs is key here. Staying close to the inside once again for the shortest line up to the final corner, and this is a corner that will either make or break your lap. Down to 3rd to set up the best exit possible, dumping absolutely everything down the final straight, reaching a top speed of well over 300 kilometers per hour, turning on DRS one last time, staying as close as possible to the inside, and that is a lap around Interlagos.
And you are now joining us trackside, and as you can see, the drivers are out there taking to the track, doing some intermediate runs. Nathan, everybody saving the tyres when they're needed most. We do have the full qualifying here, so we see them take to the track to get a feel of how things are out there, whether the weather's going to work in their favour. The sort of times do you think we're going to expect as we get going here in qualifying 1?
I mean, I don't think we'll be seeing 112s, that's safe to say. I think we'll be in the, I'd say, 6s, 7s. I'm not too sure about this circuit, as, of course, all the intermediate tyre runs come in. Some of them choose to go into the pits, some of them just choose to do a lap. It doesn't really matter, to be fair. The first 8 minutes, nothing really goes on. Sometimes the odd team might go out and just try and do something a bit different. But generally, you see cars going out for their first runs at around that 10-minute point. So we have got a nice little window here where we can kind of, well, have a look at what they're doing on track at the moment. Apart from, well, not much at all. Of course, we've got both the Veloci Academy cars out. We have Reyes Imtiaz. This is his first race for VNT, I think, on a whole, actually, who only recently joined the team. And then we've got Reese Linton for R8G, who I believe is in the Haas car for PSGL PCF1. Great to see him here tonight. And then Nelson Alves as well, who, of course, was part of that rampaging test team of last season. Of course, was there for pretty much every round alongside Jan Halliday. And, well, they was on a really good championship charge. But unfortunately, it all fell away here at Interlagos, where they went from being in the lead by around 25 points to losing out by about 4. So yes, Nelson remembers his track very, very well, but hopefully tonight he can do a better job than he did last time here around this circuit. Of course, Williams are doing a great job so far in the championship in 3rd, so Ruben and Nelson have got a lot to do to keep up with that championship charge of, well, hopefully going up to the top for themselves.
Absolutely, as Reese Linton just hits the line and sets an 11 flat on the inters, so not so far away from Nelson Alves. You said he knows his track very, very well, so potentially can help Williams pull the way back up from the depths where they've been struggling in previous seasons, and now they sit themselves 3rd in the championship. But it has only been 1 round, still quite a long way to go in the season, and of course heightened points finishes, so that's always something that you need to consider for.
Indeed, and we do have our first couple of cars out on a set of the soft tyres. We have FRT, we've got Campbell Adams and Florian Fanzalter. Of course, they haven't got Gabel Chontos, who did absolute wonders for them last time out in Australia, qualifying in P3 and I think finishing up in and around that P7, P8 area. Did such a good job for FRT to jump them up into 6th in the standings. And well, they haven't got him tonight. They've got Campbell and they've got Florian. So hopefully they can also try and charge their way out of Q1 for FRT. And let's see what Campbell Adams can do. Heading down towards turn 1 on his run. And as I say that, I will pause because he's not. He's doing a double out lap here because, of course, round here, the fuel, if you go out on minimum fuel, you get around 3 laps. They want to get as little fuel as possible. So they will go around for 2 out laps. And then, of course, burn fuel, go for 1. So Campbell will go around once again, then we'll do a run, and then we'll head back in. So let's have a word, guys, with, of course, our total sponsors for this season, Sim Racing Centre. Without those guys, we would not be here today. So we'll hear from them very quickly. There we go. Of course, a big thank you to SRC once again, who have brought this season to us. Of course, with SRC, you will always experience excellence. And something else to note on our screens is why is one of the McLarens currently out of the session before it's even began? Well, that's because they received a qualifying ban for an qualifying interference in round 1. That penalty was given to Wilson Hughes, but of course it's served by anybody in the team. And McLaren thought it was best to give it to Philip Preschneider. So he will be serving a qualifying ban for this evening. I should have mentioned that earlier. I kind of forgot, but there we are. We got it with 10 minutes to go. And we do have a few cars, Corey, heading out onto track. The first one being being Kean at Godendorp. Of course, Florian and Campbell are on their laps, but Kean is just on an out lap.
Yeah, we're currently on board with Campbell Adams. He's coming through sector 2 now, getting around that tight turn number 8 before he flicks it back round to the left of turn 9. Can get a bit dangerous here in sector 2. Slow speed corners, you're trying to get your momentum going, get quick on the throttle, but it's very easy to light up those rear tyres and send yourself packing for a little bit of a spin. He's about to finish his sector 2 now and dealt with it very, very well. Comes firing around turn 12 now before he's just aided all the way up along this massive curve around 14 and 15. He'll get the DRS in between the 2 corners as he opens that rear wing, burns what little of the battery he's got left. He's already burnt off the fuel, crosses a line. It's a 6.8 to take provisional pole.
Indeed, a nice lap there from Campbell Adams. Florian Fanzalter even quicker by just under a tenth of a second with a 106.752. Great opening laps by the FRT team. But of course, when everybody else goes out for a lap, we've got to see whereabouts that puts them in the pecking order. Of course, tonight sees the return of Max Grosspointner, a driver that hasn't been around for a very long time. I think it was midpoint of F1 24, took a retirement, and, well, he's back once again, and this time is with FVR, who have been brilliant with their recent signings, the likes of Declan Barrett and, well, named Max Grosspointner, and we'll see what he can do. I was speaking to a few of his friends and him earlier on, and we've been told that he'll be finishing the race a lap behind. I don't think he will, but for the sake of it, we're going to pretend he will anyway. So let's see what Max can do.
Well, I am on board with the Red Bull, Kean Godendorp, as he's coming around to finish his sector 2 when he gets himself around 10 and 11. And again, the middle sector seems to be catching a couple of drivers out. He's running really almost wide as he came around that double right-hander 6 and 7, almost running a little bit too wide of the white lines. Bit of understeer sliding him out, but he does look fairly collected as he came out and into sector 3. Is he going to continue to push on and pump this lap in? Yes, he is. Flashing light, battery's gone. It's a new pole time. It's a 6.6. I'll be quiet. He looked a bit unsettled, but track limit seems to be where the time is.
Indeed, a nice lap there from Kean. His teammate, Ulash Zildrim, also in the Red Bull, heading up to the line. Where can he go? It will be quickest, the 106. 0.515 for the Red Bull driver. Then we've still got a few of the cars looking to set laps. So some of them are choosing to go for the double out lap. Some of them are just going for one. Race Imtiaz, who was on a lap, has got an invalidation. That would have been down in the first couple of corners. I'm just trying to see who else is actually going to be setting a lap very shortly. I think the next car will be Tony Hirtala for Veloci Academy. Was a couple of tenths down on what we saw from Ulash Ildrim in that first and second sector. So let's see what he can do in Sector 3. In the Mercedes for Veloci Academy, heading up to the line. Where will he go? Into P3, a 0.67 on and half a tenth away for the lap time of Tony Hirtala. Next we have Rihard Sprogis, who I believe is just beginning a lap here for FBR. Yes, he is. Just goes onto the board with a 25. So he'll just be getting ready for his latest run. Danny Berejne just heading through turn 4. And he does have a bit of a... well, does lose the rear a little bit heading into that corner, so he's going to lose some time there. We'll have to see what he can do for the remainder of the lap.
I'm on board with Max in the V car for FBR as he's coming around in Sector 2 now, coming back around turn number 9. This is again another corner that can catch you out, and you've got that grass everywhere. You don't want to drop a tyre in it, lose that traction, send you spinning, especially with the speed that these drivers propel those cars through these corners. This is where they find the lap time, and in qualifying you see the lap times coming in at 1:06 quickly, and D'Angelo D'Ortenzio, new pole position time, 6.4 on his Ferrari debut. Beautiful lap there as he comes back around on the outlap. We're still on board with Max to see where he can place himself. For FBR, jumps up to P10, it's a 6.8. So everybody's only separated by 4/10 of a second for those that have done those soft tyre runs. Everybody else is doing their double out laps or getting themselves ready to produce their lap time. And we just saw Rihard Sprogis, yes, 6.6 up in the order.
Indeed, as Xander Van Dijken there up into the top 6 for McLaren. Barry Burman to the top with a 106.429. Ruben Pedreño up into P6 with a 106.565. We did also see Nelson Alves there jump up into the top 5 for Williams. Next, we have Julian Klaffenbach here for RHG. They currently sit P17 and P20. Of course, they haven't got any representative lap times on the board just yet, as Race Imtiaz a poor 106.9. Definitely needs to find some pace in that VNT. Haas, as Julian goes to the top of the timings with a 106.414 next. We have Reese Linton, also part of the RHG team, heading down into Johnstow at turn 12. Let's see what he can do on this latest run. Of course, we'll still have a couple more opportunities if this lap isn't to be for the RHG driver, as he heads his way now up towards the line. What will it be for Reese Linton? It will be P10, a 106.614. That will not be safe, but it's a decent banker either way. But trouble down for Florian Van Zelter, Campbell Adams, Max Grospointner and Race Imtiaz. All of those are looking to, well, not progress to Q2, but of course they all have more laps to do, so they've got to get some lap time for sure. But I'd say, Corey, anybody probably Ruben Pedreño down has to probably go again here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You know, you're looking at, well, Ulas is feeling comfortable with that 6.5, so that seems to be where the cut-off point, I've got to agree with, is going to be. You've got to be Ruben Pedreño, P7 and down. Everybody's going to be looking to set another lap. All those in the front 6, front 5 are going to feel fairly safe and retire, as we see. The Hortensio, Ulas has already retired. They're going to save the tyres and wait for the later qualifying rounds. As Barry Borremond, Otis Lawrence, they all follow suit, and Julian Klaffenbach. Nelson Alves, is he feeling like he can go quicker, or is he feeling like he may be caught?
We'll have to see what he can do. Of course, the top 5 all feeling that they're safe. Florian Campbell are on a lap at the moment, and we did see that Campbell was up slightly in the first sector. Florian's had an invalidation. That's not going to be looking too good for him. He'll have to go again, but of course they have gone out early just so they can get a couple more laps under their belt if needs be. Let's see what Campbell can do as he heads his way through in towards, I think, Pico de Pato at turn number 10. And then, of course, a long run around turn 11 and then in towards Juntsow. Just picking up a little bit of grass slightly. He's up by 1.8 tenths of a second. That's going to put him onto a mid-0.6 here. So he's only looking at around P10 to P13 here at the moment. This is not going to look too good for Campbell Adams if he can't jump up into that top 10 at minimum. To the line goes P14. Now I'm starting to think there that is not safe. If he's got a bit more fuel, he should be looking to go again, because a 6.44 I'm confident will not make him through into Q2 here.
No, he's literally right on the line. He's on the cusp of being eliminated. All it takes is 2 of those drivers from the bottom 5 there that you see below him, because obviously Philip Presneda is serving the qualifying ban for McLaren. Any of those 5 drivers from Matala down have got a chance to knock him further down the field. Campbell Adams certainly is not safe. We just hit under the 3-minute mark, and more drivers take to the track where they can burn off a little bit of fuel. Just over a minute a lap, a minute 6 on a fast lap, around about a minute 10 to 12 if you're saving fuel and going a little bit slower, or just trying to burn off the fuel. You don't want to burn out the tyres, so you do run a little bit slower pace to maintain the tyre wear, but make sure that they stay nice and toasty, ready for your hot lap. Nelson Alves feels comfortable, he's retired.
Yeah, P6, he thinks he's safe with that. I mean, he probably is, but it's a bit of a risk either way, but you've got to take risks, I suppose. You know, there's a chance that he could go out, but I suppose the chances of him going out are a lot lower than the chances of him staying in anyway. But Tony Hietala here, he's on a lap for Veloce Academy, heading into turn 4. The end of Sector 1 was slightly down on his Sector 1 time, but of course still has 2 sectors to go, and Sector 2 is really where you gain most of your lap time. Of course, lots of medium and low speed corners for the drivers to navigate as he heads his way through. Decent job so far. You can just see carrying as much minimum speed through as possible in towards Bico de Passo, turn number 10, and then of course we'll get to see shortly how much up or down he is in Sector 2, and of course that will, well, I don't think he'll gain much more heading into Sector 3 because it is just one long straight pretty much, and it was up by just under a 1/10.5 here. That would put him onto around a mid-point 5, so that probably will be safe, but of course many of the drivers have to set lap times as well. Heading to the line for Tony Hietala, that's P5. That should be safe for him to head through into queue number 2. Next to cross the line here will be the Alpine of Danny Bergenet, but he's starting a lap. And I think the next one to finish a lap will be possibly the... No, it won't be the kick. It'll be one of these, all heading through to turn 9. There's about 6 of them together here, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just keeping my eyes on it to see who is pushing hard, and it seems nobody is. They're all taking it nice and easy.
Yep.
Sergio Sabrino's gone through, so he's going to start his lap. Kian Gordondorp, is he on a push lap? He certainly is, a 10.5 up as he comes into the final sector, pushing all the way through. He's certainly going to be safe with this lap if you can maintain that 10.5. Crosses the line, does indeed. It's a 6.497 for P5, just ahead of Tony Hietala.
Indeed, a nice lap there from Kian Gordondorp. Next to cross the line will be Alexander Dimas here for VNC, but I think he also went for the double 8 lap strategy. He certainly did. Next is Danny Bergenet heading through, up by 0.3 of a second here. Could be looking to go fastest in this session if things carry on the way they have gone in Sector 1 and Sector 2. The checkered flag is about to go out now. Checkered flag is out. Campbell Adams stays 15th. Danny Bergenet to the top of the timings by 2/1000ths of a second. Next to cross the line is Florian van Zelter. He's out in Q1 for FRT. Disappointments compared to last week when they both got through to Q2. Reese Linton up into the top 8. That should be safety for the R8G driver, but of course, time to watch our bottom 3. Race Imtiaz is up by only a 10th in that middle sector alone. That is not going to see him through at all here. He'll only be jumping up to P18 if he can't find any time in Sector 3, as we do see there. I think it was Sergio Sabrino up into P3. Race Imtiaz only 18th. He's out of Q1 for VNT. Next we have Max Grosspointner up to the line for FBR. He goes into 14th. That might see him through. And Richard Bronkis is out. He's knocked out by his teammate by 1/1000th of a second as Ruben Progenio goes to the top, and there is your bottom 5 or bottom 4 from those that took part in qualifying. Richard Sprogis by 1/1000th of a second to Campbell Adams in P17, Florian van Zelter in 18th, and then of course Race Imtiaz 19th with Presneda with that qualifying ban down in P20. But what a shame there for FVR. One of them making it through by 1,000th and the other losing it by 1,000th.
Oh my word. The 3 community teams barely staying with the pack there. You've got both BNT drivers were almost eliminated, but in the end it came to FRT who got the brunt end of the stick there.
Yep, certainly. And I think that shows as well that when you got these community teams, which last time out in Australia were quite, near the top, but of course Australia is a lot more technical. It's easier to lose time than it is here because of how, of course, how little corners there are and how short the lap time is here. You can see how much that affects those community teams. None of them finishing higher than 14th there. So, you know, they've definitely got to struggle here this evening. And, of course, unfortunately, we do lose both of the FRTs, a VNT, an FER, and then Philip Presnader. And FER Max Grosspointner and Alexander Dimas for a VNT were also barely heading into Q2. So, lots for the community teams to deal with here. The pace doesn't look too good for them at the moment, but of course, maybe they're better in the race. Maybe they're set up there. Maybe they got their setup for the race rather than qualifying. So we'll have to see what they can do later on. But here we go. Q2's begun. 15 minutes. Of course, yet again, the bottom 5 get knocked out. That's 11th to 15th. Yet again, this is one of those qualifying sessions, Corey, where anybody here has the pace to be in Q3. It's quite scary to see who will actually get knocked out.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I want VNT to at least keep a driver in. You know, Ventura, they just potentially could be there, but not finishing higher than 14th. Certainly going to see him down there and out of it. Veloci Academy doing the best that they can so far, keeping both drivers into qualifying. FBR with the 1, and of course, Future Racing Team just not managing to make it out. But everybody is littering that tarmac. All 15 drivers coming out of the pits, all by 1. As Ildrim seems to be weighing out, letting it get rubbered in a little bit more by all these 14 drivers that want to look to get their banker in already. Look at the overtakes, drivers moving past each other left and right.
Is there possibly rain on the way? Because they all seem so keen to get out. I mean, you know, they're always keen to get out at the start of Q2, but are they ever literally driving inside of each other pretty much?
Yeah, they're really racing
rain,
each other to get through. Thought we saw the overtakes on an outlap. I mean,
Yeah,
the sky's looking grey. The sky's looking grey.
If anyone knows about the weather, let us know, because, I mean, it's not going to be a secret to the drivers, because, well, they all have the same information. So if anybody knows whether it's raining or not, that would be, yes, quite useful information. But they're all lining up in towards John Sayre now, all going hardly any speed through. I'm watching here. Tony Hirtella was going 40 kph heading into John Sayre. Pretty much stopped here as we get ready to go. Once again, first laps of Q2 are underway, and it is starting to look, well, rather cloudy, but we have been told that it should be dry, according to OTC Stream. So they're just eager to get out on track, I suppose.
Yeah, looking to get those first runs in nice and early. Got to be on a huge set of tyres to think of here, just to get the first runs done and dusted. The track evolution is coming, so they are sort of helping with that, getting the temperatures up a little bit. The temperatures could be low, maybe that's why they're all flooding to the track. It could be track temps feeling a little bit cool with that grey sky. There's only a slight bit of sunshine, and it's in that corner in the left hand side.
It certainly is. I'm just on board here with Otis Lawrence, heading his way down in towards the end of that middle sector. Of course, did a brilliant job. Well, nearly would have had a brilliant job in Australia if he didn't get taken out by the incident between Barry Burmand and Keane Gernendorf, who of course was running quite well in the top 2 there and got caught up in an incident, and unfortunately I think finished back in 20th spot. Didn't look too good for him. Nelson Alves, first lap time of the session, a 107.1001. Then we have Reese Linton to the top. Ruben Pedreño goes even quicker, followed by Barry Burmand as well to the top of the times. Klaffenbach P6, Angelo D'Ortenzio was 6.7. Otis Lawrence jumping up into that top 5 with Sergio Sobrino up into the top 2, and Xander Van Dyken to the top for McLaren.
Yeah, we're just on board with Alexander. He goes up to P6 though. There's 6.8 next towards the line is Max as he gets himself P7 just behind that VNT driver. Danny Berezny goes quickest of the lot so far, and Keane Gordondorp is the only driver who's yet to set his time, but he is out there, and that light is flashing, recharging in those slow speed corners in the second sector, trying to gain back a little bit of the battery. Has he had an invalidated lap, or is it a double out lap for the Red Bull?
No, Keane's going along quite nicely. I think he's just gone for that double out lap strategy possibly, or maybe went out a little bit later. But no, they're all on used tyres. We're around 4-5 tenths off what we expect to see. You know, at the end, well, what we saw at the end of Q1, we had a 0.41, I think, was the top time. So we are quite far away from that at the moment. So it does show that they're on used tyres. Keane will abandon that lap anyway and go into the pit lane, as Ulasha Zildrim also hasn't opted to go out. So he's also staying in the pits. But yes, our top three at the moment is all from different teams. It's Danny Verochenay with a .685, followed by Xander Van Dijken, and then Angelo D'Ortenzio in P3 for Ferrari. A great debut so far for the Ferrari driver. I think was quicker than Barry in Q1, and so far quicker than Barry in Q2. So very nice for Angelo indeed. But I think he's one of those drivers where you never had any doubt that he wouldn't be right up there with Barry, because his pace is electric. I mean, when he joined, I think it was season 4 for TRT, he got them a podium, and I think he got them a win as well in that season. And at that point, I knew he was definitely a star for the future. A year onwards, and here he is with Ferrari, which is just insane.
Yeah, I've got to agree on that, Nathan. I've seen D'Ortenzio racing in F2 just a few seasons ago in the PSGL tiers, and certainly a talent that was definitely worthy of that Ferrari seat. And here he is in E-Series racing for them in round 2. So it's good to see the progression of the way drivers can excel. And like you say, the pace is there. It is definitely there. Ferrari making a good choice, getting him on board on the team.
Certainly. And Red Bull have had a bit of a dodgy start, I've got to say. I mean, Ulash was through quite safe, but Kian was, I think, around 12th or 13th in Q1. They're currently doing a completely different run plan to everybody else. They're going out of sync. Ulash is just heading through towards turn 8, and Kian is just heading through towards the Decido de Largo at turn 4. So, yeah, different strategy for these two in Q2. Let's hope that it works out for them, because seeing them both out would not be ideal for Red Bull. Of course, if you remember to last week, Kian Gernadorp, who's normally a top driver in qualifying, got knocked out in Q1, which was such a surprise for us all. And then due to that, ended up trying to hold up everybody for his teammate and got punted into a wall by Barry in doing so. So it wasn't Kian's best race. Ulash Yildirim, yes, he got onto the podium, but got given a penalty and got dropped to P5. So it didn't quite end too well for him. So Red Bull, considering their P5 in the standings, are on a bit of a back foot, because I didn't expect to see them P5 and last, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you on that, Nathan. They're normally one of the teams that are at least contending for some form of podium, if not the race victory. And they've struggled last time out with Kian, and they come back again. It was Ulas who was leading them along for the duration of last race, and ultimately with a penalty, sits himself down there in P5 to finish. And now they're at the bottom end of Q2. Ulas not doing a lap. Kian suffering with an invalidation or some issue on his lap, and has not got that lap time in already. But we've still got plenty of time, 8 minutes to go. But it's all about the tyre saving, the tyre management here in qualifying. With it being the full qualifying setting, you've got to make sure you watch what you do with those tyres and don't burn them out. You need to save a set, or if not 2 sets, for Q3 to guarantee track position.
Certainly in Ulash there, a 50.519. Now that's a decent middle sector split here. That could be possibly a 0.3 here for Ulash if he can get this final sector hooked up nicely. Heading up to the line now through the final couple of corners. What will it be for the Red Bull driver? It's a 6.2, a brilliant lap there from Ulash Yildirim straight up to the top for Red Bull. Sim Racing Kian has had an invalidation. Not too good for him at all here in this qualifying session. The next car to look to set a lap, well, I think it might be possibly Otis Lawrence. He's just heading through the middle sector. No, he's on an out lap, or a double out lap. Max Grosspointer has had an invalidation. Alexander Dimas is on an out lap. I think we might be looking towards Xander Van Dijken, who's only heading up into turn 6. It's a 16.9 in that first sector. So looking decent here for the McLaren, but of course has the middle and final sector to go here.
Yeah, absolutely. The slow speed corners can really catch you out here, trying to keep the minimum speed possible, going through maintaining all the momentum. You don't want to shed too much speed. It can cost you tenths in these corners, as well as you try to get the acceleration down. It's going to light up the rears if you're a bit too hot on the throttle, but Xander Van Dijken is doing very, very well. 3 tenths up so far. He's looking to potentially be safe here and set himself clear in qualifying 3. Can he get ever closer to Ulas Yildirim as he comes powering down towards the line, crosses it, and it is a 6.3, so just under a 10 separates him from that provisional fastest time here in qualifying 2. Not a bad lap for the McLaren.
No, not bad at all. Nelson Alves there, P3 with a .371. Ruben Pedreño up into the top 2 there ahead of Xander Van Dijken. Next, we have Tony Hietala here for Veloce Academy. To the line, where does he go? P5, a 6.5. That's not going to be safe, I don't think, if he wants to make his way into Q3, as we do see Sergio Sobrino A 0.381 slots into that top 5 for Veloce Academy. Angelo D'Ortenzio to the line. P4 for the Ferrari driver. Next will be, I think,
Oh, it's Gordon Dot.
Alexander.
P3. Wow, well done for Kian Gordon Dot, getting himself up there. He had that invalidation, so he used that to do a double outlap and find the time when it was needed. Otis Lawrence now to go fastest in the Alpine, a 6.1 there, so almost a tenth clear of his Red Bull rival, Ulas Zildrim there. We have a Julian Klappenbach to go up to jump ahead of Ulas to slap that R8G, kick Salva up onto the P2 position. Anybody else powering towards the line? No, I think that's it for the opening runs, unless Reese Linton is coming towards the line. Yes, he is 4.5 tenths up. Currently goes half a second quicker, but it's only a 6.5. He's still not safe. Still needs to find some time if he wants a Q3 position.
He does matches the time of Alexander Dimas, but he's not what he needs if he wants to go through into Q3. Definitely needs to find at least 2 tenths here. Possibly even 3 if he wants to be mega safe heading into Q3. Barry Burmand, of course, was on the lap and had an invalidation. So he's looking to go again here for Ferrari. Of course, currently on his used tyre lap time of 106.836. Middle sector up by 4 tenths. That should be, well, at the moment he'd be on for a 0.4, but of course he's going to gain time in this final sector. So you're probably looking at that top 5, maybe top 6 here for Barry Burman. DRS Open heading up to the line here for Ferrari. His teammates in P8. Where does he go? Up into P5 with a 3.16, 3 thousandths ahead of Kian Godendorp. And then, of course, we've got Alexander Dimas heading into the pits. Same for Reese Linton, but definitely pressure on here for Angelo D'Ortenzio, of course, was near the top in Q1, was one of the best drivers at the start of Q2 with his lap, but now is currently at risk of dropping out to to the bottom 5 of Q2.
Yeah, so the bottom 5 there, Sergio Sabrino, Alexander, Reese Linton, Tony Atala, and Max. This is certainly not looking good for those 5 drivers. The likes of Max as well, he's still got at least half a second if he wants to get himself into that top 10. The cut-off point currently sits itself at a 6.371 with Nelson Alves. If you cannot find the time, well, I think Sergio Sabrino could potentially, he's only 1/100th of a second away from it. So Sabrino looking to try and push Nelson down, or if not, a few other drivers. Angelo D'Ortenzio needs to improve a little bit more on that time. I don't think he's necessarily safe.
And we have a bit of time, and I just want to quickly direct myself to the chat, because a few people have been asking what's going on with these series. What is it? I've seen some people ask if it's an electric series, if it's esports. Well, it's not electric, no. It's normal Formula 1 cars. It's not, well, it technically is esports, but it's not like the main championship. Basically, this is just 10 teams. We have 7 esports teams. We have Williams, Ferrari, Red Bull, R8G, Alpine, McLaren, and Williams. They're all fighting, of course, for the championship, along with 3 community teams. They had their qualifying night a couple of weeks ago, and the teams that got through were FRT, Future Racing Team, VNT, Venturi Esports, and then Veloce Academy, who I still don't class as a community team. I still think they're an esports team, but ignore that. So yeah, they're just fighting for a championship. There's 12 rounds. There's £1,000 on the line. Now I'm going to get shot by Connor because I don't know what the top 3 prizes were, but it's something like 450, 250, and 100, something like that for the prize pool split. So yeah, basically what it is. The esports teams obviously aren't that bothered much about the money. It's more just experience and getting prepared, ready for the esports season whenever that begins, whether it's November, December, or even next year. So yeah, it's just preparation for the devs and the esports teams, and then of course for the community teams, they probably care a lot more about the money. And because they're a very voluntary run, no money in, no money out really. So yeah, they would probably care more about the money. But realistically, none of those 3 are going to see anything near the top 3. So yeah, there we go. Summed it up brilliantly, I hope. If not, yeah, I'm sure Connor and other guys in the chat can answer a few more questions. But yeah, that's the gist of it.
On board with Tony Hatala, the Mercedes will take us away with the first lot of timed runs, really pushing hard through into sector 2 now as he approaches turn number 8, shedding as little speed as he can while maintaining the grip and rotation of the car to get it around these tight twisty turns. Some brave souls may potentially go for overtakes here, but it's not optimal in the slightest. You'll lose more time than you could potentially gain, and you don't want to lose out on that DRS here in Brazil. He's a 10th up currently, is Hatala, so he could potentially be slotting himself in a safe position. Depends how much he gained out of that turn 12, because it's now all just flat, all the way to the line. Burn the battery, what little you've got left. Hopefully you had the fuel to burn away as well, and he goes up to P4. Beautiful lap for Hatala there, 6.295. Should be safe as Kian Gordondorp immediately jumps up to P3 with a 2.55. So it's looking like some drivers who thought they were safe certainly are not. They could be falling down a little bit more.
Indeed, they could be. What about Nelson Alves? He stays 11th. That means I think that Nelson is out because he won't get around again to go for another lap. So Nelson Alves is out in this session. Danny Barachne goes up to the top 2 to make it an Alpine P1 and P2. Next we have Sergio Sobrino is down in the middle sector. He needs to find at least 2/10 here if he wants to be safe heading in towards Q3. Up to the line, stays 12th. That means Veloce Academy have a driver out here in Q2. Next to cross the line is Mats Grospoint. He's up by half a second at the moment, so he could be looking for a 0.4. Of course, needs at least a 0.3 to get into the top 10. Probably needs a 0.2 to be safe. As he heads his way up to the line, what will it be here for Mats Grospoint? It goes up to P13. He will not be making his way in towards Q3. Next across the line was Tony, but of course he just stays on that P6 lap. Next we have Angelo D'Ortenzio in the Ferrari. Where does he go? Up into P6. That could be safety for now, that's for sure.
Barry Berman up to P4 before Reese Linton just falls short by a few hundredths of a second to getting himself into the top 10 so far. It looking like Nelson Alves is out, Reese Linton, Max Grospoint, I'll learn your name, I can't read it, I apologise. Alexander as well is out, and it's all for Sergio Sobrino. Has he got any more in the tank? He's not, he's down. That's it, they're out. Reese Linton, Nelson Alves, Sergio Sobrino, Max and Alexander, they're all out of it.
There we go. So, I mean, there's some big surprises there. I think Reese Linton, Nelson Alves and Sergio Sobrino are surprises. VNT, I'm not that surprised because, I mean, the gaps were just insane. It was a 10th between P1 and P10, so it was always difficult to get those guys in. And Max as well, not surprised, being as he's had, you know, quite a long break on the game. I think to be within 3/10 is very good indeed for him. So yes, but no, Nelson, Reese and Sergio, surprised. But we all knew there was going to be a couple of drivers that were going to get surprised and caught out at the last second. I mean, there's half a tenth there between Ruben and Reese, and I can guarantee you, on a good lap, both of those can be in the 0.1s quite easily. But of course, in the real session, real time, things can happen. There's different circumstances, and unfortunately, Reese Linton just got caught up on the wrong end of the stick here this evening, so he won't be making his way through into Q2. And you guys might notice in the chat as well, Connor, brilliant guy, has put in a code, of course, for 50% off on your next SRC purchase. Of course, if you want to be at the top with these guys, get yourself an SRC setup and you'll certainly find a lot of pace. There's drivers such as Duncan Hoffland, I think Thomas Ronhar as well in the past, that have all used these setups. And I know SRC used to have a team here which had wins and had podiums, so they are brilliant setups. So if you do make a purchase, also let us know what you did purchase with that code. But it's only one use, so whoever gets it first, there we go, gets the discount. Nobody else can. So make sure to use that discount code when you make your purchase. But there we go. Q2 is over, Corey. And now we head to the top 10 shootout, which is going to be interesting because now we have the top 10 best. We've had 20 drivers which are very good, but now we have the best of them all, the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where things are going to get interesting. Now, if you noticed on that qualifying finish, the top 4 drivers were just within a tenth of each other.
Yep.
So it is mere hundreds and thousands that separate these drivers from that front spot position. But even then, here in Brazil, I don't think you want to start on pole. Well, you do in a sense to get away from all the incidents, but you don't really want to maintain that P1 all the way on the last lap. The DRS aid coming out of that final sector, going down to the start-finish straight, will give you a photo finish for the ages. This is a very, very interesting circuit to be racing at. There's plenty of places for overtaking, plenty of action to come your way, and as well, that race finish is going to be special.
Of course, and if I read this right, we have 7 teams into the top 10. Of course, Alpine with both their drivers, Red Bull with both theirs, and so with Ferrari, then of course we have one Veloci Academy, one McLaren, one R8G, and then one Williams. So this is going to be interesting, of course. Alpine, Ferrari, and Red Bull have got an advantage here. They have both their drivers to start in the top 10, and if they can finish in the top 10, lots of points go in their way. But the likes of Zander, Tony, Ruben, they've got to do so much work to kind of jump their teams up, because they're going to be at a disadvantage with some of their teams 8 in Q2 and 1. They've got to make up for their other drivers' mistakes and, you know, lack of pace, skill, whatever. So they've also got to get the best laps on the board. So everybody here has got to put so much pressure on everybody else and set the best lap time possible. And the first one to go for it is Julian Klaffenbach, who is such a brilliant driver. Of course, if you don't know the backstory with Julian, guys, he got banned from PSGL in F1 22 for alleged cheating. I mean, PSGL said he did, but I'm going to say alleged because there's no proof or concrete evidence. But, you know, that's happened. It's over. He came back at the end of F1 23, if I remember correctly. Joined R8G, has got himself into real-life racing through the Williams Prodigy Series, and now is one of the best here on F1 Sim Racing. So he's had an odd story. Went from being banned from everything to being a real racing driver and racing in E-Series for R8G. I mean, that's a turnaround, isn't it, Corey?
Sounds to me like the makings of an origin story, Nathan. You know, movie on the way. If he progresses higher in the real racing career, that is an origin story.
And to F1.
Oh, that's it. It's the dream for all these drivers to go there and get into the real life sports. As they don't just do this for the sense of doing it, they all want to excel and achieve something greater. That is why we are here for Julian Klaffenbach, to get himself into the real life racing through Williams Prodigy program is incredible. And here he is, one of the most talented in F1 sim racing, coming to cross the line to set his first opening lap. And it's a 0.1 already, Nathan. 6.1 to lead us away here in qualifying 3.
That is a superb lap to open up the session, nearly a tenth quicker than Ulash Zildrim. Next we have Tony Hietala. That didn't look like the best middle sector. A 50.981's around a 0.4.5. Let's see what it was. It's oh no, it's a 0.8. Yeah, that is definitely a used run, I think, for Tony. But next on a lap, we have Kian Godendorp, who we know is a king when it comes to qualifying. Just that race is where he normally lacks. So let's see what Kian can do on this opening run. Sector 1 in the Red Bull, a 16.9. A decent opener to the lap for Kian. But of course, Sector 2, as we've mentioned before, is definitely the place to gain and lose the most time.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping our eyes on Kian Godendorp as he comes through Sector 2 now, shedding the minimum speed possible to make it around these turns. And now as he comes back up to turn 10, it can get a little bit treacherous. So it's sort of an anti-bank curve, well, a banked curve as you go in. Sort of hooks you round at the apex into turn 10. But he's dealt with it well, and he's coming down out of turn 13 now. Picks up the detection point, although he will be aided with DRS in qualifying all the way through. Powers down towards the final little kink of a turn 15 with the rear wing open, burning the battery, crosses the line, and it's only good enough for a 0.5 for the Red Bull teammate. Oh, not good. Not good indeed. He needs to find a little bit more time, though, as other drivers start to come out to do their laps. We'll go on board with Otis Lawrence as he's in Sector 2, coming around turn 10 as well.
Indeed, he's on an 8 lap, double 8 lap at the moment, so he won't be setting the time just yet. We do have Angelo D'Ortenzio currently on a 16.9. There we go. He's not on a 19.6, no. 16.9 in that first sector. We'll have to see what he can do as he heads his way through this middle sector now. Of course, got into Q2. I think it was P8 there for Ferrari, so not the safest, but he made it through anyway. But he's one of those that when you put him into Q3, he can produce some absolutely barnstorming laps. So we'll have to see what he can do here as he heads his way through the end of Sector 2 to Junseo. He's on a 50.4. That's on for a 0.1 as well here for Angelo, if he can, of course, hook up this final sector, which is just one long left-hand corner. And then, of course, up to the line. What will it be here for the Ferrari driver? Could it be provisional pole? No, it's a 0.261. Slots up into P3 as Barry Bowman does go up to provisional pole for Ferrari at 0.132. That is a brilliant lap there by the Ferrari driver.
Absolutely, a lap that was much needed, but we'll go on board with Bereznes. He's powering down towards the line. Can he dethrone Burman? No, it's only good enough for a 0.3. Anybody else coming down towards the line? We have Ruben. He crosses the line at 6.6, and then on to Xander, who's only good enough for a 7. Oh my, he's really falling down the order though. Finally, Otis Lawrence, can he challenge for pole position? Crosses the line. It's P2, just falls short by just over 100th of a second, 11 thousandths separating him from that provisional pole time. But we have just hit under 6 minutes, still lots of time for drivers to get in, come back out and set one more lap. That's the beauty of Sao Paulo, Brazil. It is a very short lap.
I mean, should we be surprised with Barry and Otis at the front? Because I'm sure in PTF1 on Wednesday, they were 1 and 2 in qualifying, and they finished 1st and 2nd in the race, but Barry got a penalty. So hopefully, if he does end up battling with Otis, he's learnt his lesson and doesn't earn himself a 5-second penalty or 3-second, whichever one it was. But there we go. Back into the pits for our top 10, as they all will go for one more run in this session, and the gap between the top 2 is 11 thousandths of a second. The gap between the top 5 is just over a 10th. So very close lap times at the moment. But of course, for the likes of Kian, Ruben, Tony and Xander Den, I all feel that they were on used tyres because there's no way that they're all 4 tenths off the pace. I don't think that's possible at all. Of course, that was for Kian, and Xander's a second off nearly. So, yes, they must all be on used tyres. They'll get a run again. And then, of course, we can see where they will end up. But I think a great qualifying so far for Julian Klaffenbach. For RHG, of course, they didn't have the best opening round. I think they finished P8 and 9. Toko Hardy received a penalty for a collision. As Julian goes to the top, never mind, I didn't realise he was on a lap. But he goes to provisional pole at 106.085. Just as I was saying he was doing well, he goes to the top and solidifies it even more. But of course, as I was saying, RHG, poor opening round, P8 and P9, penalty for Toko Hardy. And well, they've possibly got themselves a pole position.
Did Ulas improve his time there as well? Because he's just crossed the line again. So it seems Julian and Azildrim have both had the bright idea to keep going longer and burn away all the fuel they've got, get a little bit more charge in the battery, go for one more lap while the tyres are still nice and hot, ready to go, and they have improved on their laps. Just a few hundredths of a second between P4 and P2, and then Julian Klaffenbach almost over half a tenth clear in P1. That is a beautiful lap, and to do it on 2-lap-old tyres, 3-lap-old tyres, wow, beautiful stuff. We were just talking about how he's made a bit of an Origin comeback, and there he is at the top here in E-Series.
Brilliant, brilliant there for Julian Klaffenbach, and then of course we still have, well, that actually Julian probably can go again here. With there being 3 minutes on the clock, pardon me, he should be able to go once more in this session. So, he's got another chance here, possibly has Julian. Same for Ulash as well. He's also just heading into the pits. But we do have cars heading out on track. Otis Lawrence is the first one out. And I presume he's going for the double out lap strategy like he has been doing so far in Q1 and Q2. And I think he did the same in for the first lap of Q3. And of course, like I said, when you go to the minimum fuel, which is 5 kg here, you get 3.1 laps of fuel. Well, when you get to the line, that means you've got 2 laps. You want 1 lap. These drivers need the absolute minimum that they can have. So, of course, they go for 2 8 laps, and then they've normally got 1.5 laps, maybe a little bit less, for their final run. So, yes, that's why we do see the double 8 laps. Or in some tracks, you can't afford to do so because the minimum is normally just for about 2.5 laps. So, yeah, just a bit different around here, but of course, it means the drivers can get that extra bit of preparation and then, of course, bomb it for one more lap in this session, and we get to see who's going to take pole position. And Corey, I'm going to ask the chat first, and I'm going to ask you. Guys in the chat, let us know who do you think will take pole position here tonight for PSGL E-Series, and Corey, who do you think will take pole?
Well, Otis Lawrence was the previous pole sitter when you mentioned the race just a few days ago. So I want to say that Otis could potentially take it again, but I've got my eyes on Barry Berman for taking it. If he knows that he's been out-qualified once, and I was a pro esports driver, I would not let that happen again by all costs. I would be pushing my Ferrari to the limits. I'm not being out-qualified twice. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, rightly so in the chat, Nicholas said it was a 0.9 from Otis on Wednesday. Just alien stuff you don't imagine that anyone could do. A 0.9 is insane. I mean, a 0.0 is like, oh my, but 0.9, I did not expect that at all. And well, if Otis can do that again, then, oh my, that could be an ending for sure. But, you know, there's an opening for Julian, Barry, Ulash to all do it. I mean, they've all taken pole positions. They've all been in the top 3 in their respective leagues. You know, for Ulash, he got a P2 in F1 Esports. Otis has had multiple poles, so has Barry. Julian has been at the top in PTF1, so there's no reason that they can't all do a 0.9 as well. It's just you've got to have those perfect conditions and be on the perfect lap, which is just so difficult to have 100% perfection pretty much. But here we go. Otis Lawrence is looking to go for his final lap of the session. 38 seconds to go, so if he makes a mistake, he cannot go again.
No, this is it for Otis Lawrence. Onto the brakes around about the 50-metre ball. Get the rotation in and flick it back around to the right-hand side to catch it on turn 2. Well, you keep yourself pinned, absolutely pinned to the inside of that apex on the exit of turn 3 before you get that rear wing open and power down to finish sector 1. He's barely up on the delta time, just a few thousandths gain for Otis Lawrence. It's not enough to even think about contending for pole position unless he's got it all in the 2nd and 3rd sector as he fires it round the double right-hander 6 and 7 before he's harsh on the brakes, shedding off all that speed, back around to the right again in turn 8. Flick back around to the left. Oh, he's caught a little bit of a spin. He's lost time. There's no way he's going to gain in that sector 2 from that. Almost just a bit too hot on the throttle. Almost sent that Alpine point in the wrong direction, but he did well to catch it as he comes down towards turn 12 now. Still losing time. He's barely up on the delta so far. No chance for pole position, but a chance for P3 unless Barry can strike back on him.
Well, Barry's had an invalidation. Angelo manages P7 for Ferrari. Danny Barration's up into the top 2, and it's pole! It's pole position! Just when we thought maybe he's not good enough in the tank, he does! A 0.075, and when we thought we could date him, well, he proved us wrong. As Sildrim up into the top 3 there for Red Bull, a brilliant lap indeed to go 3 thousandths ahead of Danny Barrachnay, and then Julian Klavenbach will be solidified in P2, as I do think we saw. I think it was Keen Godendorp there, up into P7 for Red Bull, and Ruben Pedreño will be finishing P10 for Williams Sim Racing. But there we go, our top 3, Alpine, Kick and Red Bull. No Ferrari in sight and no FBR car in sight either.
That is insane. Otis Lawrence pulling back the time when it was needed out of 1 turn, and then he had the reserves to follow it through to claim pole. When it all looked lost, I was thinking it was all lost, but he takes it by 100th of a second. Otis Lawrence proves once again that he's the fastest in Brazil and nobody can challenge him.
A 0.9 on Wednesday, a 0.07 on Friday. I mean, this could be just insane. Honestly, I can't believe the consistency of Otis. I mean, to do it once is amazing, to do it twice is even better. And when he's got the likes of Julian, Ulash, Danny, Barry all behind him, you know, they're not just anybody. They are also top drivers. But there we go, Alpine looking to bounce back. Of course, remember, they sit P9 in the standings on 7 points. Well, with the P1 and P4, they're looking to bounce up into that top 5, possibly top 3, quite comfortably, if they can keep it. But here we go. Look at that gap there. The top 6, not even a 10th separated. The top 9, just over a 10th and a half. And it's Lawrence on pole ahead of Klaffenbach, Zildrim, Berejnay and Boromund. Then we have Van Dijken, Godendorp, Dortenzio, Hietala and Pedreño. But there we go. Qualifying 3 is over. Before we head our way into the race, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors over at SRC.
And you are now joining us back on the track where the drivers get themselves ready to rock and roll for this Interlagos Grand Prix. I'm excited to see what is going to happen here it just begs the question with Otis Lawrence. He had that slight moment in Sector 2. Could he have pulled that .9 that everybody in the chat is so happy about? But he still managed to do all that was needed to get the pole time. But now we wait patiently. They get their setups set back up because, as we can assume, they have qualifying setups and race setups. Setups that will burn tyres away and setups that will help manage them through the Grand Prix. But we are now 3, 4, 5 lights. The grid is hot. The drivers are ready to rock and roll, and it is all go, go, go. But we've had a false start. Danny Berezny has not started, and we've had a huge pile up, and the 6 drivers out. Oh my word, look at that! Danny Berezny has disconnected on the start, and everybody from the back of him has just gone clattering into a gridlock. Oh my word!
It's a restart.
It's a restart?
No one was aware of. Yeah, no one got told that.
Who called a restart?
Nobody.
Nobody called a restart. We were sure. What?
Yep, nobody's got a restart. There was nothing in the chat at all.
No, right, rules, well, they don't, unless there is a grid drop.
I didn't see one, hence why I didn't think there was a restart.
Ah, well, a few days ago, apparently there was something in the chat. Well, we apologise for that, but as round 1 went on, we was not supposed to be restarting, as there are grid drops, but now there are restarts.
Ah, they are. Because of the... Ah, there we go. I'm stupid, I remember now. Rules, yes. Tyre compound, so there's something with the softer compound allocation and the harder compound allocation. Basically, they moan because they want every little bit they can, pretty much, to sum it up.
Ah.
And they don't want to get a disadvantage with restarts, and they're not having restarts because some people will... yeah, it goes over my head.
Right, well, we'll come back to the commentators' corner then after a slight mistake that even Nathan forgot about it. I didn't see the announcement, so I'll hold my hands up to that.
But in my opinion, it's that stupid of a rule. I think it's very silly. But that's why I'm not an esports manager or driver. That's why I sit here and yap along.
I was fully expecting it to be all lights out and go, 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 because last time I spoke to Connor, it was no restarts unless a grid drops. So you got a bit of a dramatic start, me screaming at you already from an absolute gridlock. But at least that's not the case, and we are having a restart.
Well, it's very dark on my camera. I'm sorry, guys. I solved that issue half a year ago, and it's back. Oh, dear me. But there we go. Yeah. That woke everybody up. You should be happy with the restart, otherwise it will be a complete race. I mean, it probably would be, but I don't understand it all, so you'd have to kind of give us a bit of insight why. Because we are stupid, we don't know much about the game. I mean, I'm 2 seconds off esports pace, so what chance do I have of... Oh, of course it's Will Gibson in the chat. It's a 2-stop. MHH. I know it's a 2-stop because after like 8 laps, your tyres die on mediums. Having to pick harder for full quality would be interesting. I don't have a clue. So I need to go for a new lobby, which I'll sort out now. And I couldn't leave because it was on the screen. Crossplay? No, crossplay should be off because I turned it off. And Corey, you heard me say I need to make a new lobby because I had crossplay on.
Yes, I remember. We had one lobby already ready to go, and then Nathan was about to send invites, clicked it, and then saw the EA menu pop up, and then it hit him. Crossplay should be off. So he went back and re-lobbied. That I can confirm. But while we're sat here waiting for everybody to get themselves ready to rock and roll, we've got most drivers already still here in the lobby. 4 drivers has either restarted the game or just left in anticipation of the lobby restart. We'll take a quick little look at the calendar that is yet to come your way here in E-Series. So here we are for round 2 in Brazil. For round 3, we head over to Mexico and then off to Spain, Belgium for round 4, before we have the reverse track layout, Austria for round 5. That is going to be interesting. Now I'm going to say the reverse turn 3, which would technically be, what, turn 7? Coming the opposite way. The braking into that turn is dreadful. That is certainly a corner to watch out for when drivers are going for the overtakes with DRS, because you once again are aided again down that straight with DRS. So Austria, reverse format is going to be very interesting race to see. Before we get a nice little break week, and then on to Miami for round 6, and then over to Barcelona in Spain, which has seen a lot of updates over the past few months, that coming from 24, and in this it's also had another update where they've attempted to smooth out that bump, causing the nasty issues out of the penultimate corner onto round 8 in Britain, Silverstone circuit. Mine and Nathan's home Grand Prix will be head over to Monza in Italy. Baku circuit for round 10 in Azerbaijan before we line up Texas and Saudi Arabia for the season finale for round 12.
Indeed, and we're just getting everybody in. Then I can set up the lobby, of course, get the grid sorted out, and then we can make our way into the race. Of course, 36 laps around this circuit. It's going to be an interesting one. Of course, the first couple of laps, well, the first lap's always chaos, but then I'd say like lap 5 to like lap 30, nothing really happens that much generally. But then it's those last few laps where everybody's playing a game of chess, just trying to put themselves into the perfect position for that final lap, and then of course going for the win or podiums or top 10, wherever they are on the grid. So it is very much like a chess game around a track like this, where it's so short. There's lots of laps, but the race goes by quite quick because of how short the laps are. But yes, we have got half the grid in. Then, of course, once everybody's in, I can set up the grid. And then, boom, we can get underway for the race. But, yeah, the calendar here is one of the best calendars I've seen in a while. And I've been known, and, you know, I think Connor probably knows this as well. I do not talk highly of the PSGL calendar, same as WOR and other leagues, because sometimes they just throw tracks on there, which I'm like, I don't know why they're on there. But these tracks are actually decent, and we have a really good calendar.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see the finale in Jeddah. That's one of my favourite circuits, not only to drive, but to spectate. That's Sector 1 with the Jeddah S's, the 12 turns you need to navigate in Sector 1 is something that I love to see. Certainly can become quite a spectacle as well if some drivers feel brave enough to go side by side or try to make some moves down into Turn 4 maybe, dive bomb to the inside to get the better line into the S's. It's all up for grabs. We're taking another quick look at the standings so you can see how things are looking as we get going into round 2 after that mighty interesting qualifying. We have 36 laps of Brazil yet to go. The race has not even started yet, but qualifying certainly brought some nice mighty entertainment, and now we just await patiently for the drivers to get themselves ready once again.
We certainly do. A couple more just to join, then we can get the grid set up. Waiting on one more driver. Who am I going to name and shame for not joining the lobby yet? It will be... Oh, yes. Thank you.
Oh, we lost Nathan's face, but the qualifying was still turned on though. He's going to get that turned off in this new lobby. And we've lost Nathan's face for a second.
Again? Is he back?
Hold up, let me see. There he is. We've got him back. 19 drivers strong into the lobby, so I'm expecting to see things go very interesting. Now, what I want to know, who do you think is going to take race victory out of Barry, potentially charging back up, Julian Klaffenbach, who's just coming in here and showing that he has got the pace to stay there up in P2, potentially challenge these drivers, or is it Otis Lawrence? Get in the chat, let me know who you think is going to win out here tonight. I think R8G could have a good chance with Julian Klaffenbach driving for them here today.
I certainly think they could do so. Now, I'm getting everybody set up into the grid. So if I talk, I'm probably not going to make much sense at all because I'm trying to do too many things at once. And I'm hoping that next week I can actually have a driver host the lobby because I hate having to do this. Every time we get made into a guinea pig. Every time. So hopefully next week someone can offer to. I might even say to someone, right, I'll even give you £10 to host a lobby.
Oh, bribery. It's coming to bribery now. This is the level we're going to just to find a racehorse.
Exactly. That's how far it's gone here in E-Series. No, I think the same is for the normal series as well. Nobody wants to host. And they all say these silly excuses. Oh, there's a glitch for the lobby leader. What glitch? Because I've never heard of it. But
yeah,
no, everybody set up. And at least I'm going to know who's where on the grid before we start.
Yeah, you do. You get to see the full lineup, you know who to invite and get in there. Gives you that nice little insight on who to expect to be challenging at that top spot. I'm excited to see how this is going to go. Don't forget, like we say, the first 5 laps, you're going to see all-out action. Then the drivers go into that tyre management mode where they try and extend the stint, go a little bit longer, make sure that they can make it to the end on whatever strategy they're going for. I reckon hards are going to be the one to start on here. You never know. Hard, medium. Try the mediums in the end, but drivers are saying as well, and in the chat we've seen that a 2-stop could be on the cards here in Brazil. The tyre wear is abysmal, and it has been in this game cycle that we've seen so far. Heightened tyre wear on all circuits. It's just the strategies are up in the air. I still do not know where to go. What is faster? What is most optimal? Is it better to tyre save, or is it better to just keep pushing and go for that 2-stop? I'm just taking a quick look at the chat. Come on, somebody give me some insight. What do you think? Everybody's saying 2-stop. They wanted the restart. They wanted the fresher tyres. Is the 2-stop going to be faster?
We're ready. I've double-checked the grid 3 times, just so I get it right. Because I know if I get it wrong, there's going to be... Listen, there's teams on here that would say to me, oh, you got the grid wrong. Oh, you're doing that on purpose. You're rigging it. So I need to make sure it's correct, because you know the lengths that teams go to here in E-Series. Hey. There we go. Grid's ready. Drivers should start readying up Corey, and we can actually get underway for round 2 of E-Series. We've had a bit of a break. Of course, we have the restart for the whole compound situation, which I'm sure someone can make it a lot simpler for me. But yes, compounds are sorted. Means we can go into the race and not worry about a thing.
Well, no, we know that we're expecting lobby restarts. Round 3, yes. We know qualifying ends.
Exactly.
Straight back to the booth. No mucking about. No trying to get the race start done and dusted and underway. Oh, yes. Oh. I'm ready.
Yep. Right. Qualifying's off. Oh, and Ruben's game's crashed again. Hopefully it's better. Grid is done. So, information. We will start. So the lobby starts now. We ready up on the grid at 10 minutes past the hour. So 3 minutes after we've gone in, we ready up. So we'll be starting at 10 minutes past 8, which means we have more time to talk, and talk. Again.
Yes. We just wait patiently for everybody to get themselves ready. Yes.
And it's rather cloudy overhead here in Brazil.
Ooh.
If we get rain, then I don't understand the point of all the tyre compound situation, because that doesn't matter. So I'm hoping there's not rain, otherwise I'm going to be very angry later on to realise that we did the restart for nothing. But here we go. I'm looking at the race director. We've got mediums and hards going on all over the grid. So yes, it's going to be an interesting race for sure. Of course, we've been told by Mr. Will Gibson, who I think doesn't have a clue what he's on about anyway, medium, hard. So we'll see if they go for that.
Medium, hard. Starting on the mediums, getting them out of the way, done and dusted for a stint. Not what I would go for. Well, what I think could be faster with where the fuel is just degrading the tyres a little bit more. You have a heavier car, and especially through these corners when you're on the brakes, you're using more of the tyres. But later stints, when you burn off a bit of that fuel, get it a little bit lighter. It's not as harsh on the tyre wear. You can run a little bit longer on those tyres. But we say medium, hards. Let's see how this pans out if those drivers do go for that 2-stop.
Indeed. And yep, we can see mediums mostly throughout the grid. A couple of drivers starting on the hards. So yes, we'll have to see and wait what they all choose to do. But Corey, you get the pleasure of taking the race start, which around here tends to be rather chaotic. So
yeah.
Good luck.
That dive. I'm expecting dives into turn 1. I'm expecting contact coming back around turn 2 where drivers are trying to dive for that optimum racing line, try and keep themselves at best out of contact as possible. But the more they try, the more contact happens. They try and avoid other cars, but then there's a car on the opposite side, or maybe a car behind them. They hit the brakes, contact there, contact from the left, contact from the right. It goes any direction, especially into these first opening corners. They come at you very, very quickly from the race start procedure. You're literally off the line, on the throttle and on the brakes within just a few seconds, and trying to get yourself back into turn 1. Sort of like how Yas Marina Abu Dhabi comes at you. As soon as you start off, you're on the brakes and into a turn. No mucking about. It's in Silverstone, you can keep your foot pinned. You can fly around that first turn. But here, it's all up in the air, and with a stacked grid of 20 drivers, some drivers certainly may get a little bit caught out, or you could see some huge dive bombs for positions here on the race start. First opening laps are going to get treacherous as we do go ready racing. I haven't took us to the game screen, but it is 5 lights, and the drivers are ready to go as we get a good launch from Otis Lawrence as he leads away with Julian Klappenbach trying to get to the inside line and slip his way through. further back. They go 2 by 2 by 2 as we see Berezne just slip away from Ulas as he's tried to get the opportune start and slip on through. Everybody now just tucking into a racing order, into a racing line, whereas Reese Linton's the one who's making it side by side with Hortensio, trying to get on through. He's just not there yet. He's made contact and he's sent spinning and he's took Max with him. Max just hit that rear diffuser, got all unsettled, and has been sent for a spin as well. This may have opened a gap in the field, unless that closes up a little bit faster than we expect. We see a dive there from Kian Gordondorp, trying to move one up on Xander Van Deeken. Tries to go around the outside now, forced a long way round, but the door is slammed closed by that McLaren. He's not getting through yet, and he doesn't seek another move into turn 10. Just falls back in line where we see Ruben Pedreño and Nathan Alves going side by side, swapping positions, which forces Sergio Sobrino to try and get a move on Nelson Alves. Tries to pin it to the inside line there as he does so with ease. Forces that Williams to go the long way, squeezes him out of it and retakes that P11. Could this open the door for Rihard Sprogis now to challenge on Nelson Alves?
We'll have to see what Rihards can do as we begin lap 2 of 36 here. Down the inside into turn 1 we go. And Rihard's making a send. And on my game screen, everybody's lagging. So hopefully they're not experiencing that down their end. And I'm going to say if that is the case, then it's the lobby's fault, which means I can't host it next week. Fingers crossed, that's the excuse. But here we go. Down towards the Decido de Largo. Once again, we have Race Imtiaz on the hard tyres. Making a move. That's past Campbell Adams, who does unfortunately drop off track slightly on the exit to turn 4. And that's Crossport at 10. He's 10 seconds down, so he's got no chance of anything unless there's a safety car. Whereas Reese Linton is a second back from the train because of the pace that they carry through in these trains. Now he should be able to get back into it quite comfortably. As Alexander Dimas, and Philip Presnauder locking tyres through in towards Pico de Pato. And it'll be Presnauder 20th up to 15th after 2 laps. A brilliant start here for the McLaren driver. Of course, his teammate Xander Van Dijken is up in that top 6, as we do see Campbell Adams still looking to charge after Race Imtiaz and has been caught up instantly by Reese Linton. But here we go, lap 3 of 36 is underway, and Ulash and Danny are on a charge.
Yeah, absolutely. Reese Linton doing very well to stay very, very close proximity to the train after that unfortunate spin, taking Max with him. Max 10 seconds behind, but here we are with the DRS enabled. Barry Burman getting close to Danny Berezne. Is he going to go for a move? No, he just moves out of that dirty air, that hot air, trying to keep the engine cool. As everybody knows, a hot engine, you lose that peak performance, start losing acceleration and straight line speed. Will just cost you dearly in performance when you're trying to stay very, very close to this train. That could make all the difference as he does make a move now. Dives to the inside though on Danny Berezne. Saw an open door but had to back out of it as we come back around turn number 9. Turn 8 could have been, but it is not to be as Danny Berezne is now forced to make a move on Ulas Ildrim. The side by side as we come back around turn 11 now, but to no avail. Ulas managing to maintain that podium position.
There was also a battle further back there with Ruben Pedreño and Angelo Hortensio for P9. Ruben made a move, but Angelo got back up under the inside of him and got back up into P9. But then, of course, we do see further ahead Berezne is closing in on Azildrim, who moves over to the inside, defends, and then, of course, Berezne doesn't go for the move anyway. There's no point costing time for absolutely nothing here. Lap 4 of 36 is underway. We've got Florian Fanzel to go in side by side with Rihard Sprogis. And it's Florian up into 13th after starting 17th position. A great start by the FRT driver. You can see there, Rihard's closing in, looking to fight back, goes to the inside, but nowhere near enough to make a move, so just stays in P14 for now. And that does allow Philip Presnauder to close up and possibly think about making a move. But here we go once again, Barry all over the rear of Daniel Berezne, once again looking to make a move as they head their way through turn 8 into turn 9. Can he get the overtake done? No, he can't. I think it's all about applying pressure here by Barry Burrow. And to the inside of Pico de Pato, once again into turn 10, looking to make the move. Can he get ahead? No. They're side by side, heading into John South Corey. Let's see who's going to be ahead.
I think we had slight contact there between the two, but Borman once again has to fall back and keep that P5. He certainly got greater pace in that second sector. The open doors are coming his way in that Scarlet Red Ferrari, but Danny Berezne is making it mighty difficult for Barry to get on through. This is only helping Otis Lawrence keep that lead of the race. We know Barry and Otis have raced here just a few days ago, and Otis was the one to take the victory against him, but Barry Burman kept the pressure on all the way through. But here, just sat there in P5 with an Alpine teammate blocking his way.
Well, Alves looking to make a move to the outside of Sergio Sobrino, who then goes to the inside of Ruben Pedreño. It went from one Williams on the attack to the other one on the defence as they head their way through the Decido de Largo, and no move being made. And now we head back up the hill in towards Ferradura. Let's see, can any moves be made here into the braking zone? We do see there Nelson looking to go for a move, but to no avail. Barry Burmond as well looking to make a move once again through Maguglio in towards Bico de Passo. Can he look to make a move? No, he chooses to stay back this time around. Lots of drivers on the edge of making an attack, but none of them can. But there we go, Alexander Dimas ahead of Philip Presneder. A brilliant move there by the VNT drivers, and surprisingly on the hards, they're actually making them work somewhat, because now Alexander Dimas is already on the back of Florian Vanzelter. But we know that these medium tyres drop off quite quickly. A slight bit of contact between the two as they're fighting for 14th, like they're fighting for first position. Into turn one, who's going to be ahead? Will it be 14th for Florian or 14th for Dimas? Dimas is up the inside into turn two. That's Hamilton Verstappen-esque there as they make their way through. Back down towards the Decido de Largo. Reta Aposta first, and it's Dimas into P14.
Wow, some mighty fine battles going on here for the back end of the field. But they're still looking to do their team proud of VNT up against the other community team, FRT. But Philip Presneder down there trying to make a recovery drive. After that qualifying ban, he is going for a move to the outside line. Now forced a long way by Florian, but he still tries to keep his foot in the door, and he's forced off and into the sponsor boards. We'll lose another position there to Reyes Imtiaz, and now could be under great pressure from Reese Linton behind, who is also trying to make a recovery drive. But to the inside, there goes Alexander Dimas trying to make a move on Riyad Sprogis. They're side by side, and Florian almost getting caught in the tangle of that battle in front. But he kept his car corrected, and now under huge pressure from Reyes Imtiaz. He dives into the pits. Is that damage, or is he done with those medium tyres?
We've got early pit stops, and Vanzelter has a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and that's pretty much his race over already. A 10-second penalty for Florian Vanzelter as Angelo D'Altenzio makes a move ahead of Tony Hirtella. That was through that first couple of corners. But we do see as well Sergio Sobrino and Reese Linton all heading into the pits and making their first pit stops of the evening. Of course, we know that the mediums don't last long, hence why the VNTs are really making their way to the grid rather quickly. So, of course, the rest of the mediums, we'd imagine, will be in by lap 8, lap 9 maximum. Of course, they'll go hard to the end. Of course, if any weather comes into the equation, then it can all change. But as it stands, it will just be medium hard.
Tensio to the inside.
Yep.
Ooh, almost managing to pull the move off, but had to back out of that one. He's feeling brave here, looking to take positions. Could this be the time to box, like you mentioned? We've seen some early stops. Lap 8, lap 9, the max you want to go on these mediums before you start dropping serious time and are under massive threat from undercut. As we see drivers dive into that pit lane there. The McLaren and Red Bull, that being Xander and Kian Gordondorp, as well as Tony Hirtella in his Mercedes for Veloci Academy.
Dimas now up the inside of the two Williams cars. First will be Nelson Alves, who does give him a bit of a hard time heading through the curve of the stall and back down the Reta Aposta. Lap 8 of 36. And VNT are on a bit of a charge here on these hard tyres, looking to get past all those on the mediums to the inside of Nelson, but to no avail. Stays back in P9 for now as they make their way through turns 4 and 5. Back up the hill in towards Ferradura and La Regina. And further back, is anybody thinking about making a move? I don't think they are. Nobody looking to make moves at the moment, apart from possibly Florian Vanzelter. As that's Reese Linton on the grass, looking to get past two drivers into turn 4. But Gordondorp keeps the position on the hard tyres, of course. Van Dijken and Gordondorp win a lap later than Linton, Vanzelter and Sobrino. And it seems that one lap undercut worked, because look at the gap between Van Dijken and Sobrino. Sobrino was behind Van Dijken before the pit stops, and he's now nearly 2 seconds ahead.
Oh, just that one lap earlier has gained him seconds, and as well, those tyres are going to start to hit their peak temperature. They're going to come in a lot quicker now than those that have just boxed, so he's going to find more time in his lap. Is the Veloci Academy driver, as we see Nelson Alves now done with his medium tyres, dive into that pit lane. Anybody else? Nobody just yet. They're going one lap longer, but that puts them under huge pressure from Sobrino behind with this huge undercut he's gaining. Takes the fastest lap there with the freshest and the most worn tyres. Well, I say freshest, he's not, but he has got those tyres up to the peak temperature ready to rock and roll.
He certainly has a brilliant strategy so far by the Veloce Academy team. And of course, our net race leader technically is Sergio Sobrino ahead of Van Zyken and Godendorp as we head into turn 4 at the Desilo de Largo. No move being made by Godendorp, but was closing in quite comfortably here. I think if he was to make a move, it would be down towards turn 1. Of course, into turn 4, you go side by side, you lose time, and they don't want to be losing time to Sergio Sobrino, who's actually on the back nearly of Max Grospointner. Of course, not been the best weekend for him, as we do see the two of Ruben Progenio and Alexander Dimas going side by side, but no move being made there for Dimas. Was up the outside, I think, of Ruben, but Ruben, of course, just slotted back up the inside into John Sao, and will stay in P7. No pit stops for our top 7 just yet in this race, as Alexander there nearly tapping the back of the Williams. Into turn 1, goes for the late send. To the inside goes Dimas. Of course, Ruben trying to hang it around the outside, does get to leave racing room at turn 2. Bit of contact at turn 3 and keeps himself ahead. This is getting a bit close now to contact, as Imtiaz is going to have a go at now Ruben Progenio. Into turn 4 to the inside. Can't make a move, and that was a bit late on the brakes there for Progenio, but nearly hit the back of Angelo D'Ortenzio. In doing so, has a poor run out of turn 5, and now this gives Racing Taz the chance up the inside in towards turn 6. Does he get ahead? There's a bit of contact, and I think Racing Taz has got ahead. He has.
Oh, barely keeping the car on the track, and through goes his teammate Alexander Dimas. He's trying to send one on Ruben as well. The side-by-side, he's going a long way around the outside, but he'll now have that inside line if he can keep it side-by-side. Yes, he can. Up into turn 10, back around, and position again. But now Ruben is under tremendous pressure from Rehards behind. He's looking to try and close that gap up after Rubens was sent all out of shape by the VNT drivers.
Certainly, and we do see there Max Grospointner in the way of some of our drivers who are fighting at the back, and oh, that was a bit of a snap. And Reese Linton gets caught up in it there. Max having a bit of a snap through Magulio, and now we can see Linton tapping the back of him, pushing Max through the exit there, and we'll have to look for a run to get past down towards turn 1. Max isn't letting that one go lightly here. As we head back down towards turn 1, it's lap 11 of 36. And it's Linton versus Grospointner for 14th here. Into turn 1 they go. Of course, Max hasn't pitted. The others all have, and, well, Reese Linton makes over. Max sliding all over the place. Not happy with that car whatsoever. All over the road is Max, and, well, Florian, he's going to be halted of a move because of that. And we do see Nelson Alves slotting through into 16th for the Williams team. And Max again, just in the way, and, well, that's going to cause a bit of an issue, I think.
Oh yeah, this is serious now. Max really slowing everybody down. These drivers that have boxed and are on the fresher tyres, looking to squeeze on through. There's contact between Max and Nelson Alves. Is Max going to be able to maintain the position? Look at that 3 wide coming around turn number 9, and there's contact. Max is sent for a spin, and he tried to hold on for as long as he could. But that tyres are just dead. He's out of here. He's sent packing and has lost more time to those drivers.
Certainly has, and we do have more pit stops. Barry Burman for Ferrari, Ruben Progenio for Williams, and then Rihard Sprogis, who I think was, well, trying to be aided by his teammates, of course, holding those up behind, but it hasn't worked too much, really, as he heads into his box and will head back out on a brand new set of hard tyres. And then we'll come out, I believe, in P18 here in this race. Of course, P19, as Campbell Adams does get ahead in that FRT machine. And there we go. FVR not having the best weekend at all. P19 and P20 at the moment, and of course Max is going to be nowhere near anybody in this race. Was 5 seconds back before making his pit stop. He'll be around 35 seconds back from the leaders, but what's happened further ahead? That's Florian Fanzelta at turn number 5 has either got into contact or had a spin.
That's wing damage. He's severely damaged that front left side. He's going to have to box. He's going to lose too much downforce here and into Lagos, and you need it to get yourself through this second sector. He's going to be understeering and slipping and sliding through these turns like no tomorrow. Florian has had a disaster, though. He's going to lose massive time, and I don't think there's a strategy that he can pull out that will pull him back into this race unless he tries to go really long and get a huge undercut on another set of hard tyres.
Indeed, as we do see further ahead, King Godendorp now 1.2 away from Sobrino, so isn't that far now from getting a nice dose of DRS down some of those back straights to, of course, close in to the Veloce Academy driver, as Campbell Adams takes the fastest lap of the race at 109.358 on those hard tyres, currently situated in P16 so far for FRT. Of course, his teammate Florian Vanzelta, contact at, I believe, turn 5. and that's resulted in him having to make that extra pit stop and will be probably falling to last place as, of course, Max going to soft. So I presume that's for a fastest lap attempt here, because I don't think anybody will be strapping on soft for the remainder of this race. So Florian, bit of a shame there, and because of that damage, he's had to offset his strategy and also thinks, you know what, let's go for soft tyres as well.
So he's going to go for one more stint and maybe, just maybe, can take that fastest lap away from Max, who's trying to take it. We don't do a point, do we, Nathan, for the fastest lap, or is that still up for grabs?
I'm not going to say yes or no because I don't know.
It's something we'll confirm. We'll confirm for the next round, so we can make this a little bit more interesting. So who's going to steal that extra point up for grabs? But other drivers now raising Tiaz into the pits, getting onto his first stint of hard tyres. Has he done enough to go the distance there? 14 laps on the mediums for those drivers in front.
I was watching a league race the other day, and there was punctures at lap 14 on mediums.
Ooh, punchy territory.
So, they're getting close.
They could be absolutely twitching in their seats right now, trying to be very, very cautious with those tyres just to make it back around and get into that pit lane. This could be the time to pit. If you say lap 14 are in puncher territory, you were seeing punchers from lap 14s, and certainly these drivers are going to feel a little bit twitchy on the rear, if I say myself.
Certainly indeed. I'd expect to see Otis and Julian and etc. in the next couple of laps. Before they do hit that puncture range. Of course, I remember when I was doing a race, lap 8, and I was on about 40% already. So does Otis pit? No. Does Julian pit? No. Does Ildrim? No. Berejne? No. Does Tenzio? No. They're all staying out, and Alexander Dimas is in. Of course, he started on the hard tyres along with his teammates and gets a 10-second. And I mean, he was literally slowed down for the pits. Took a, what, maybe 1 or 2 kilometres extra. And well, yet again, another driver with his race probably over in terms of scoring big points. Of course, P1 to 20, you get points. But when you're in P18, you get like 4. So I don't know how they're managing to do this. He was slowed down enough, but just oversped. Well, you know, there we go.
That is unfortunate. A little bit of speed in the pit lane. Oh, it gets the best of us. You know, just 1 kilometre an hour over and you get slapped with 10 seconds. The game is not forgiving in the slightest. But you've got to be prepared to hit those brakes and slow that car down into the pit lane. It is race crushing and damaging, especially if you need to complete another stop. You just need to sit there for 10 seconds. You've lost 10 seconds on your race time. You could be challenging for the lead. It's one of those that are race-ending situations where there's not a lot you can do. Just crack on, get your head down and try and regain that time. We are just sort of slowed down a little bit in race pace. Everybody's just trying to go the distance, go a little bit longer. You see Lulas and Danny Berejne lap 16 into the pits. They're done with their mediums. This could be a one-stop for them. 20 laps on the hard, certainly doable with how long they've ran at those medium tyres.
Indeed, so they're going on to hards, and I've been informed by somebody in the chat that they are going to the end here, probably on these hard tyres. They're going to go 16 laps on the mediums, and well, 15, and then I think it'll be 21 on a set of the hards. As Barry Burman makes a move ahead of Nelson Alves up into P8 for the Ferrari driver, and then we do see further ahead, of course, Otis, Julian, and Angelo still committing to that, I presume, one-stop strategy. They're staying out once again, and Connor in the chat rightly saying pit lane coaching at SRC. Well, I think they do need to add that to their setup shop because, well, not set, but their shop on the whole, because a lot of drivers don't know how to pit, and when you're at the top, you need to. Yeah, I don't know how they managed to do it because I never speed in the pits and I'm 2 seconds off the pace, so they haven't got an excuse. I'll hold them to that.
Well, I'm one of those that aren't talented enough to know the corners and braking points. I use a racing line. That's fairly helpful
Same.
in telling me when to stop. That I can agree with. I'm not going to deny it. I use the line. But I only use the line. I don't use anything else. So at least give me that. And that tells me when to hit those brakes. Otis Lawrence, Julian Clafenbach, De Hortensio all going in to complete their pit stops. We'll now be going to the end.
Indeed, they are. Well, I'd imagine they are anyway. From what I've been informed, they should be, unless I've been trolled, one of the two. But back up at the front, our top 3, it's Sergio Sobrino, Kian Goderdorp, and Xander Van Duygen, who I'm pretty sure will have to pit again here in this race. I think everybody does, down to like P12. I think Ulash, Otis, Danny, Julian, and Angelo can go to the end. And of course, VNT split in their strategies, so they both started on the hards, but Race has gone on to new hards. And Alexander has gone for new mediums, so I think he might be going for hard, medium, medium here in this one. I don't think he'd go back to hards to the end, but of course Race will have to go to mediums here to get to the end because of course he's used 2 sets of hards and you need to use 2 compounds in a race. So he'll have to go to mediums somewhere probably around lap 26, 27 I'd imagine, and then of course push on to the end. But at the front, you never know what's going to happen here. You don't know what's going to happen because does the 1-stop work or does the 2-stop work?
Well, we see a change for the lead. Kian Gordon using DRS slips ahead. Sergio Sobrino, easy pickings. Textbook 101 manoeuvre under DRS. Not too much of a fight put up from the Veloci Academy driver because they're just trying to minimise tyre wear. It's pointless fighting when you've got to go the distance. If you go in the distance, again, Sobrino boxed very early. Those tyres are very well worn in. 11 laps so far. Kian Gordon, 10 with Xander, and then again 11 laps for Reese Linton. As Tony Atala boxed around the same time as Xander and Kian, but has fallen down into P8, not using those tyres to the best of his ability to get the undercut that he would have liked to, where his teammate did benefit from that.
Indeed. As well, I'm rather curious to see how this VNT strategy works because the chat were flaming them to hell for starting on hards, and I mean, I'd presume as well they went on to I'd presume they would have gone on to mediums as well because they are just the better tyres to start on, but they're trying something different. I mean, when you're starting at the back, you might as well. You don't lose much anyway, so why not try something different and see if it can work? I mean, for Race, it is working. He's up to P12. Alexander, though, he's down to P17 with the 10-second penalty. Hasn't been quite his day, that is safe to say. But, of course, Race can... Well, at least now I suppose that VNT can just focus on Race more than focusing on both, because Alexander's got no chance of finishing in any higher than 16th here, unless there's a safety car, which, if you're basing your strategies on safety cars, then that's a bit silly. So I imagine now it's all focused on Race and just seeing what they can make him do. If possible, use Alexander as a bit of an anchor once those in the top guys have pitted again. That's what I do anyway. But I'm not a strategist, that's why I'm a commentator. Yeah,
no, I agree that. I probably follow the same suit, but again, this is why I'm a commentator. I'm no engineer, I'm no strategist, I'm barely a driver. I'm 3 seconds off the pace of these guys on the best of days. At my peak ability, I'm still seconds away from what you see here in E-Series. So I'm not one to talk on the strategies. I don't use these tyres to the maximum of the potential, not like these guys can. As you say, lap 14 was punchy territory, and we see them go to lap 16 before they go into the box, just nursing those tyres. I certainly don't have that ability. I probably would have popped them on lap 10, personally.
I mean, I wouldn't have even got off the line. Last time I did a league race, I spun off the line, so says what you need to know about me, I think, because we do see moves happening down to turn 1. Progenio ahead of Race Imtiaz, and Race Imtiaz tapping the back of the Williams through turn 1. Gets forced off the track, rejoins back on with Rehard Sprogis on the outside through the covered assault. As Eldrim looking to make moves, so is Otis different. As they make their way down to turn 4, they're 3, they're nearly right, and Otis Lawrence charges through up into P9 for the Alpine, and Azildrim following suit as well in that Red Bull car. And then further ahead we did see as well Barry Bormand ahead of Reese Linton. But what a move there from Otis, brilliant stuff.
A testament to the talent you see of these drivers there, being able to stay clear of the contacts, not getting damage. It's vital they stay clear of it, and just shown by Otis and Ulas, they stayed well and truly out of it. But we go on board now with Ray Imtiaz, who managed to slip one through on Berezne after what I heard was a little bit of contact. But here we see Julian Klappenbach now bringing the challenge to Danny Berezne. To the inside line goes the Salva, and does manage to take that position as we get going up to the DRS point. The rear wings are open, and Klappenbach manages to maintain that position.
There we go. I mean, Reese Linton's into the pits. He's done on 14 laps, so he'll be going to the end. I'd imagine the likes of Godendorp, Sabrino, as that's contact further back. That's Rehard Sprogis halfway through the centre S's and somehow doesn't get collected again. I don't know how they've avoided this. Every lap long, no one has been caught up at all. As we do see Dimas ahead of Sprogis, and D'Angelo D'Ortenzio was up the inside on those hard tyres but couldn't quite make the move. And then Julian Clapper, oh, that's an odd penalty. He's gone off the track and been given a penalty. I'm sure that... Oh, no. If he's... Oh, no, he hasn't got a pit again, I don't think. I think he's going to the end, because if he did have to pit, then he would have to serve that penalty.
I think that's...
He's going to the end, I think.
I think that's just from all the contacts. Well, avoiding contact, should I say. He's gained a position off track, but was he forced in that position? That could potentially go for removal in the steward. So Clapham Bach, wherever he finishes with the 10 seconds, you've got to remove that and take into consideration. When he hits that checkered flag, that could be well and truly out of the window after Steward's report. So the results you see are all yet unofficial, as we do come back to you next round with an updated results we can display for you. We didn't do it for round 1, where we did see a change. We saw Barry Burman lose his P2 and down to P9, which proved crucial in helping FRT stay closer to Ferrari in the opening round championship.
Indeed, as we do have a question in the chat from Luke saying who's on a one-stop. I believe it's Otis Ulash, Danny, Angelo and Julian, as we've had yellow flags at the turn 4. Now, who was that? Because I can't see anyone spun around or stopped. Van Zelta gets another penalty. Was it him possibly involved in something? As we do see Rihard's making a move past Alexander. Alexander pretty much let him through, so I'm not sure if possibly Dimas was just being like, yeah, forget this, go past, I'm not bothered. But into P12 goes Richard Sprogis, and then further back, it's just not been good for Max or Florian, has it? What a shame for those drivers today.
Yeah, they've just not been there. I mean, Max struggling in qualifying as well. He's had a disaster opening couple laps, was caught in contact with Reese Linton. Reese has been able to recover from that, but Max has just been seeing an ever-falling time gap from him and the rest of the field. Florian as well had that moment in turn 4, lost the end of his left side wing, and he's had to replace that. He's had to box once again and sits himself 29 seconds behind. This is disaster there for Florian.
Indeed, as we do see here, Julian Klappenbach getting past Ruben Pedreño. Up into P5 for Julian, as we do see as well, Otis Lawrence is on the back of Philip Preschneider and Angelo D'Ortenzio, making a move ahead of Ray Imtiaz up into P8 for the Ferrari driver. And of course, Barry Burman on that 2-stop strategy is up in the lead. He's only got 5 seconds here to Otis Lawrence, so once he pits, he's got to bring back like a 15-second gap if he wants to go back to the front, which would be insane work if he could. But of course, no, never say never when it comes to Barry Burman, as we do just see Otis here on the back of Philip Preschneider. Now, does Philip try and hold people up for his teammates? I don't think he will here, to be fair, because if he would have done, he would have slowed down a lot earlier. And Otis, if needs be, DRS open, battery burnt, straight past, see you later. As Philip, I think, might be going to the pits this lap. He is. Into the pits goes Philip Preschneider, and staying out once again is Barry Burman.
Yeah, he's going a little bit longer, so 2-stop. Is that confirmed for Barry Burman? He's still got 12 laps to go, 24 laps on the hards, but the tyre deficit to Otis and Ulas and Julian Klappenbach behind, they're certainly going to catch up to the back of that Ferrari, and he's going to be passed with the tyre deficit. It's only 5 laps and 4 laps for Ulas and Berezny, but it's still an advantage that these drivers have. If Barry wants to try and go the distance, wouldn't surprise me to see him box in the next couple of laps to try and benefit on fresh mediums and regain that time, if that's the way he wants to see himself. But again, fresh hards for Barry would also prove crucial and beneficial in gaining back some time.
Indeed, as Linton there, back ahead of Dimas. Dimas goes back up the inside of the R8G driver. Contact once again, and this allows Sabrino to catch up along with his teammate, Tony Hirtala, as we head down to Pico de Pato. Oh, that's going to be up the inside. That's a late move from Sabrino. Can he get ahead? Of course he can. A brilliant move there from the Veloce Academy driver. And now into the scene is Tony. Looking to go to the outside, can't do so. Angelo D'Ortenzio ahead of Ruben Pedreño. And oh, Alexander just holding up Tony slightly here. And Tony's going to have to burn the battery here to get past the VNT driver. As we head our way back down towards turn 1, any moves being made as Barry Burman, Ruben Pedreño, and we do see, I think it was Richard Sprogis into the pits. Up the inside goes Tony, breaks late to get ahead of, and another send from Sander van Dijken. What a send from the McLaren driver, and well, that doesn't end well, because through goes Nelson Alves.
Wow, that was a ballsy for Sander van Dijken. He really tried to maintain a position, but out of shape is Alexander Dimas and loses 2 positions there. Nelson goes through, Zander goes through, and Kian Gordon-Doll was almost looking for him, but he's going to try and fight back on the McLaren. Is the VNT driver of Alexander Dimas. He's looking for it, and through goes Kian Gordon-Doll after a huge tyre hook between Alexander and Zander van Dijken. That's not good for those two.
I mean, I understand holding up, but I don't respect that. I think that was too far there by Alexander. purposely running deep and taking Xander with him. That I don't like at all, and I'll say that publicly. I don't like that at all. But through goes Barry Borman up into 13th. Of course, pitted just 1 lap ago and has 10 laps to go to catch up a gap, which is of 13.8 seconds to Otis Lawrence. A lot of work here for Barry, but the question is, can he do it? Because, I mean, there's an 8-lap tyre difference here. I think he's hoping that Otis struggles to the end with tyres and, of course, potentially going into puncture territory.
It's a big if. It's a big if. Barry is just playing it on what he's assuming is going to happen, but has Otis done everything that he can to manage the tyres, to feather them around in his opening stint, to make sure that he's got what he needs in the end to defend against what could be the 2-stop being faster. Barry Berman, like I said, he's got a lot of work to do. He needs to get through the drivers ahead of him yet, but he's got 10 laps to do so and will be benefiting on the better tyre compound. I accidentally held the penalties up there for a bit longer than I should have, but there you can see the 6 seconds for Florian, 10 for Alexander and 10 for Julian Klappenbach. With that 10 for Klappenbach, we can assure you, will probably be, well, I don't even want to assure you, it probably be removed. It's unofficial. Don't hold me to it. It could go that way, but with the way we've been seeing contacts here tonight, penalties certainly are a definite. And VNT, you know, there's a bit of a question coming your way from one of your specific drivers, though, who did something questionable to a McLaren driver.
I mean, to be fair, Xander did shoot up the inside into turn 1. So,
yeah,
I mean,
is he justified?
He might even get a penalty himself for that, because I was watching on board with Alexander, and enter Xander Van Dijken shot up the inside, and well, he's now P12, he's doing a fine job on the back of our main train. Of course, he should be easily going to the end here on this one. He's only on 5-lap tyres with 9 laps to go, and Barry Burman, he's in P11. He's catching up to Keane and Tony, who, well, Keane's only on 2-lap older tyres, so it's going to be more difficult to get past Keane. But of course, once he passes Keane, he's got 7 laps, 5 laps, 6, 10, 11. So it will get easier for Barry as this race gets along. But of course, time runs out.
Absolutely. There's a very unhappy Jake Binham in the chat. He's, of course, rocking the McLaren colours. He's not happy with what happened with VNT.
I can't say much after his Ironman League performance. Straight on at turn, whatever it is, the final corner, hairpin. Bosh, straight into the barriers.
I mean, when I did the commentary on the Ironman, I saw the man end himself in the pit lane on the very track we're here at now. So, he's a bit unhappy, but he doesn't do too well himself sometimes.
Oh, as Barry Burman gets through and Tony here, Tallow into P10 for the Ferrari driver. And no, I'm actually surprised not to see Jake on the roster for McLaren. Oh, I don't think he is. No, I don't think he is. I don't think him or Alfie are, which is a surprise. But here we go. 8 laps to go in this race, and Otis and Ulash lead. And Ulash has had such an underrated start to the season for Red Bull. Of course, at P3, but got a penalty in Australia. And now, if things stay the way they are, he's sitting on a comfortable P2, possibly a victory here for Ulash's children. So we've got to see what he can do in the next couple of laps. Of course, 8 to go in this one, and well, Red Bull could be on for a win.
Well, on board now with Angelo Di Ortenzio in his Ferrari debut, looking to close up on Danny Berezny. It was a few tenths gap. He's now within 2 to 3 tenths of striking distance. Looks for a run now as we come out of turn number 3. Can he get close enough to potentially challenge for a move? Not looking like it's going to go his way yet. He's out of that dirty air, out of that slipstream, trying to keep that engine nice and cool so he doesn't lose that peak performance.
Indeed, as we do see there, Nelson Alves getting past Keane Godendorp in towards turn 4. A nice move for the Williams driver ahead of the Red Bull. And now Barry Burman can look to close in and make a move to the inside in towards Ferradura. And into P9 goes Barry. A brilliant move there by the Ferrari. Of course, 8 positions to go to get to the top. I don't think he'll quite get the win, but I think a top 5 is probably on the cards for him tonight because he has got some very good pace on those newer hard tyres. And then further back, I think it was Race Imtiaz making a move ahead of Rihard Sprogis up into P16 for the VNT driver, who's not, well, I don't think the team's had the best evening on a whole at all, as Alexander Dimas is in the pits again and has actually fell behind Matt Grospointner now.
Yeah, Dimas, I think he's just going to try and take the fastest lap away here. It's all he can do, being so far down in the order, and after that controversial moment, doesn't surprise me to see him get well and truly out of harm's way. But now, as we keep our eyes on the potential battles that are yet to come, Reese Linton, he's the one that's trying to close down on Sergio Sobrino, or Barry Berman on the pressure high compound tyre, tries to close up to the back of that R8G car. Here goes Reese Linton to the inside, slips on through into turn 4. Very easy done with the DRS, but he's under threat from a potential switchback. Sobrino managing to make it side by side, but has to fall back in line before we get to the double right-hander at turn 6 and 7. And you can see the gap open up a little bit for Reese Linton there. Barry Berman is gaining more and more, almost a second broken on the time that was 1.9 seconds between himself and Sobrino.
I mean, fair play to Reese Linton. What a race. I mean, remember, he started near he was in the top 10, but of course got knocked out at turn 4 by Max Grospointner, was spun around a second and a half behind the pack. He's now in the top 6 comfortably, and it could even go for a top 5 here, because ahead of him are cars on very old tyres. 13, 15, 14 lap old tyres with 5 laps to go, and Reese, Barry, Sergio are all there for the taking. So this could be a very exciting final 5 laps, because look at the time between Angelo and Reese. It's just crumbling down here. And give it lap 33, we're probably going to have 8 cars in the DRS, as we do see Barry up the inside of Sergio Sobrino. Into P7 goes Barry Berman.
Yeah, Sobrino doing well not to fight that hard. He's thinking about the end game. That game of chess, like we mentioned so many times before. They're setting themselves up for their final moves. That checkmate, which can get them their positions, podiums, or race victories in the final lap. So now Barry Berman making the moves. He's starting to catch really, really aggressively to the rest of the field. The drivers out front have significantly more worn tyres. Barry Berman went for that 2-stop fresh hard tyres, and you can see the difference as he gains up now to the back of Reese Linton, who's made, like you say, Nathan, a mighty fine recovery drive. There's Florian moving out of the way, being a lapped car. He's staying well and truly away from those leading runners. Blue flags, doesn't want to cause any impeding, get his team any unnecessary penalty. He's just running the distance now.
Well, here we go. The gap now between Reese Linton and Angelo D'Ortenzio is 1.3 seconds. Barry Berman is also closing in nicely on the back of Linton. Give it a lap or two, he should be past. The R8G himself actually might go for it into turn 4. Is he going to go to the inside? He is, of course he is. Barry Berman up into P6 ahead of Reese Linton. A brilliant move by the Ferrari, and now, well, what an ending we could have. 7 lap old tyres for Berman. 15 for Otis, Julian and Angelo, and then 16 for Ulash and Danny. And that gap's already below a second. Nearly, is it going to be below a second by Bigo de Pato? I think it should be. There we go, it was 1.6 at turn 4, it's now 9.
This is absolute strategic masterclass from the Ferrari of Barry Berman. He knows the time he can gain on the fresher compound, and he's certainly showing that he can do it. 4 laps to go, and he has caught the front runners. He's about to come powering down the DRS, close up to his teammate. It won't surprise me to see D'Ortenzio move well and truly out of his way, slow down a bit and let him through. There he goes. No fight from his teammate. They're running the team games. There's no Drivers' Championship, as we've mentioned before. It is for the teams only. So Angelo doing all he can for the team and allowing Barry to slip on through and charge on to these front 4.
Let's see what he can do. And of course, if you put any driver, 3 laps to go, half tyre usage, I suppose, it's Barry Berman. He is a driver I'd pick because he can fly through a field, and also he's not scared to get his elbows out. If he wants to make a move, he's like, right, I'm making it. No matter what, he'll go for it. So he's going to make these drivers ahead their lives absolute hell for these final 3 laps. Of course, going on to 2 final laps. And look already, he's already 3/10 back from Danny Barrage now. Heading down to turn 1, the gap was 9/10. So he's got a lot of pace to give here for these last couple of laps. He's already on the back of Danny, of course. Alpine, after a disappointing round 1 with both of them finishing at the back, they need a P1 and P4 here, ideally a P1 and P2, but I don't think that will happen at all this evening. But here comes Barry Berman now on the hard tyres, on pretty much no battery, burning it all down this straight to get ahead of Danny Barrage. Up into P4 goes Barry. 3 cars to go.
Absolutely, there's nothing Berezne can do to change anything from the outcome. Barry was taking that P4 away. Berezne could burn his tyres, but he just didn't have the run out of turn 12, and that is what matters. You need to be able to get your top speed up coming down that mighty long curved, well, around the mighty long curve. You've got 2 turns, 14 and 15, and DRS aided all the way down to turn 1. And there's just nothing Bresnik can do. And look at the gap already. It's 7/10 open from Burman, and he's closing up to Klappenbach like it's nobody's business.
He is indeed. Let's see what Barry can do. Is he going to make a move yet on Klappenbach? Of course, we presume that penalty will get removed for Julian, because it was, you know, a silly penalty that the game gives out automatically. I don't think it'll be one he'll be carrying with him through to the well, he'll take it to the steward's room, but I don't think he'll be carrying it to the official race results. That's safe to say. As we head on to the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, lap 35 of 36, and Barry Burman has had a challenge. With 10 laps to go, he was 13 seconds back. With 1 lap to go, he's a second back from the leader, but of course there's 2 cars in the way of him, so he's got a lot to do here. You can see pushing the R8G car through the Curva de Sol now, down the Reta Reposta, but he's not got enough battery to make a move here. Julian's got a little bit more in that R8G, and it's not enough for Barry to make a move.
No, you see he tries to fake one, trying to make himself large in the R8G's mirrors, but to no avail. Klappenbach is ready and prepared to defend. Further ahead, Otis Lawrence could be feeling a little bit of pressure, but with it only being a lap and a half to go, he's certainly feeling a little bit more confident, as there's still 2 cars for Burman to get through. He's not dispatched of Julian Klappenbach as quick as he'd like to. He's been caught behind, trying to force to recharge the battery. Now he's looking for an outside line, which could potentially turn to an inside line, but Klappenbach parks that R8G on the apex, leaving no open door for Burman. And again, he makes himself large in the mirrors, looking for any door to come his way. He's kicking and banging it, and it's just not opening.
It's certainly not, and of course you can see there Julian has a bit more battery yet again than Barry. DRS open for one last time in this race. Can Julian make a move down towards turn number 1? Sorry, can Barry make a move down towards turn number 1? No, he can't. He goes a bit too deep. Julian locks the rears heading through, and all nearly goes sideways through the center S's, and still no way through for Barry Burman.
Oh, he's been caught out, slowed down ever more, and it's a 6/10 gap now from Klappenbach to Ulas, and an 8/10 gap from Ulas to Otis Lawrence. When all look good for Burman, it's to no avail on the last lap. He just falls short, was caught behind that slow R8G after he just locked up those rear tyres. It's disaster, but a P4 is a good enough finish. They almost had the 1-2 in round 1, but a penalty saw him crash to P9. I'm sure he's going to be happy with at least the P4 here. And of course, that penalty will most likely be removed for Klappenbach, so it is to be P4, unless Burman can get past here and now, when he's got one final chance to do so with the DRS.
He's got one opportunity, has Julian Klappenbach and Barry Burman, because Ulas Zildrim has lost DRS to Otis Lawrence, who is entering the final couple of corners. Round 1 in E-Series was heartbreak and failure for Alpine, but round 2 it's brilliance and it's a victory for Otis Lawrence, who wins here in Brazil. It's Ulas Zildrim in second, and a penalty drops Julian Klappenbach down the field. I'm sure he'll get that back anyway, but as it stands, it'll be Barry Burman finishing in P3 ahead of Danny Brechnet and Angelo D'Ortenzio, the top 5, and well, Ferrari and Alpine dominance. Both of those teams have both of their drivers in the top 5. The only one apart from them is Ulas Zildrim.
Yeah, absolutely. We knew this from the start. Ferrari will come in with a very powerful lineup, and they're proving that here again in round 2, showing that even with D'Ortenzio making his debut, he's up there in P5, a good finishing position. Again, this is all unofficial. You'll wait to see the official results after stewarding, after some dramatic moments. But Max as well, yet to finish, being a lap behind. But it's Otis Lawrence to take the victory, doing it well for Alpine. Danny Brechnet lining up in P4, a much needed position to help Alpine up in the order.
Max has got a puncture in P19. Wait, hang on. 17 laps and he's got a puncture. Those at the front were so lucky then, if that's the case.
Oh yes, indeed. He can't get his car turned around. He's stuck. Everybody's just sort of, they're in AI. They can't do anything. They're all in AI. They're not in control. They've just sort of forced him the opposite direction though.
Oh dear me.
What? And then as long as we'll wait for the final classification. What a race. Wow, straight out action on the start, and then everybody settled in. The strategy is 1-stop versus 2-stop. You've seen it here, and Otis on the 1-stop has managed to make it work.
Insane work by Otis. I mean, Otis, Ulas, Danny, Angelo, and I think it was Julian, the only ones to go for a one-stop. They took a risk and it paid off. And Max, he's not
Hey,
being
I'm
fast in
impressed.
this race, but I mean, at least he's good at drifting the car through. He can't race for anything, but he can at least get his car to the end, I suppose. Be nice if good start for P1.
Oh, that's all I was thinking about as he was drifting the car through the final sector. That song was on my head
we
in
go.
repeat, rent free. Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. I'm impressed. That's a good skill. That I'll give him that. He's drifting on a puncher. Give him that.
Oh, don't think VNT are happy with us. Comms were entertaining as it gets. Is that? I'm sure that's a VNT person. I'm not quite sure. I think we've got some haters here, Corey.
Hey, I
I
don't
might
do
be
it
wrong,
for them.
but if I'm correct, there's that many people in this scene. I can't remember who's for what. So if they're not, then I'm sorry. I'll take it back.
Team of the
there we
day. Team of the
What
day.
an ending! What an ending it was! And I mean, every team there, all of them tried something. And to be fair, most of them got a strategy to work. I mean, of course, Alpine, Red Bull, Ferrari, Kick, and Red Bull tried that one stop. Oh, Tato's R8G. I'm sorry, Tato. I love you, really. I'm sorry. Great job, Julian. There we go. I'll take it back. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have reacted like that to you. And then, of course, I think, who would you say is the team of the day? Because SRC do, of course, their vote on Twitter for team of the day. Who would you go for here? Because I think there's no other team than Alpine here tonight.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I was about to say Alpine. They've just been perfect all the way through this. Even with Berezny, he's not been there for the 1-2, but he certainly made it difficult for the Ferraris to get on through. He tried his best to hold back Barry Burman on those fresher tyres. So again, good teamwork from those two. They are certainly a powerful duo, Otis Lawrence and Berezny on the same team. I mean, you shouldn't do that. That's just not fair. That's bullying for the rest of the grid. And again, it's a good finish for the Alpine team. Good points when they needed it the most. And yeah, we get ourselves ready for any drivers would like to come for a quick little chat.
I need to remember who's our top three. Otis, Barry, and Ulash. There we go. I nearly forgot for a second. That's not good, is it? Right, we'll drag them in. We've got Julian. We'll drag him in. He finished third, didn't he? Well, we'll bring them up. Julian and... Oh, never mind. Right, let's drag them. There we are. They're in. Right, first of all, Julian. Julian, welcome in. I mean, I know you got that penalty, but I'm sure that will get removed anyway, won't it?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think, yeah.
So what happened there then? Of course, welcome in. Great to have you here. But what happened with that penalty? I presume you just went off track to avoid something and boom, penalty.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was Alexander Dimas who had a massive snap in turn 2, and I just had to move. I had to go off the track to, not die. So yeah, that's surely gonna get removed. So yeah.
Indeed. Well, let's hope you get the format right, because Kryptonite's very strict and heavy likes the format. So if you do
Yep.
something wrong, you won't get it removed. So make sure you get that right.
Yep.
But no. Anyway, great race. Of course, we saw at the end, I think it was Max who was done in like 19th. He was on 17 lap old tyres and he had a puncture. Was you at puncture risk on those 20 lap old hards?
I think so, yeah. Actually, like, we were saving quite a lot, or at least trying to save quite a lot in the beginning or in midway through the hard stint, because in the beginning we obviously, or I had to push a lot to keep up with Otis and Ulash due to all the cars who had worse tires than us. But yeah, I think I was pretty close to a puncture, but in the end, we didn't get one, so yeah, I'm happy for that.
Indeed, and of course, headed into the next round, round 3. I forgot the track.
Mexico.
Mexico.
Yes.
That's bad. You know more than me. That is worrying. Mexico. If you're driving for that one, Julian, are you excited for that?
I would be 100% excited, but I don't know if I'm gonna drive, so we will see next week.
Indeed. Well, Julian, thanks for joining. Pleasure to have you in here once again, and hopefully we'll see more of you this season.
Yeah, thank you. Congrats, Otis, Ulash.
There we
Okay.
go. Thanks to Julian. And
Cool.
next we have Ulash and Otis. Corey, take your pick.
Ulash, very, very well run race, looking at challenging for the race victory. But in that last lap, losing out the DRS, was that just down to the tyre degradation alone, or was that down to just not enough battery to try and push on and catch up to Otis on that final lap?
I mean, I had battery, but my tires were dead at that point, so it was really old. So it's almost puncture zone basically. So I couldn't keep up with Otis. I just tried to keep the P2, tried to keep the gap to P3, and that's what I did in the end.
Yeah, well, very, very well done. We saw that gap open up, and I was thinking maybe you had a moment or something, but no, just trying to save those tyres and run a little bit longer. But again, was you feeling like, again, same question, punchy territory? Was that putting some pressure throughout this first part of the final stint when you was going through towards the end of the Grand Prix?
Yeah, I mean, it was always in my mind I have to save tires, but we had to pass some people in the train, so I had to use more tires than I had to save behind Otis, so it was hard for me.
And then again, on to round three. How are you feeling about that in Mexico? Confident for another podium to come your way?
Yeah, I'm confident. It's a good track for me, so we will see what happens.
Beautiful stuff. Mexico's certainly a place where you can get some mighty fine overtakes with its mighty long start-finish straight. So things are going to look interesting as we get going into round three. But congratulations on the podium, and we'll see you next time out. On to you, Nathan. Take us away with Otis.
Indeed. Otis Lawrence, welcome in. Great to have you with us. And being as I'm speaking first, I actually can ask the questions now. Not have nothing to say at the end. Welcome in, bud. Great to have you in here with us. I mean, brilliant race. I mean, qualifying once again, back-to-back pole positions at Brazil. Is it something about this track you like, or is it just the pace in general?
Historically, I've never been that good at this track. I've always been pretty bad, but this game, I'm pretty good, it seems. But yeah, the qualifying lap was not the best, to be honest. I haven't driven all day for 2 days for this race, so yeah, I was a bit rusty going into qualifying, as I wasn't home all day, so I didn't do a single session of practice. But yeah, I'm happy. You know, we had really good race pace, just as we did in PSGL F1. I'm super happy. Danny did a really good job as well. He helped me a lot in our final stint to keep Barry at bay. And yeah, I'm just feeling really good at the moment. Just really confident in myself, just driving well, and I'm just going to try and keep it up.
Definitely. And of course, after last race, it was, I think P18 and P20 for you and Josh. Not the best first round, but of course, round two, straight back up to the top again. You and Danny P1 and
Oh. Oh, you just cut halfway through. That was rather strange. Yeah, P1 and P4, what he was going to say.
Oh
I
man,
think he's
I'm
just
back.
had. You are back.
you
You're back.
lagged a bit.
No, my mic stopped working.
Oh, you lost.
Right. I'll continue on. I didn't realise it unplugged. I didn't realise it wasn't working. Right. Back to the questions. Of course, you and Dan P1 and P5. Of course, Mexico next time. If you are racing, how do you think you'll do in that race? Because Mexico, it's I suppose a bit similar to Brazil in the sense of everyone is always so close together, and the lap time is relatively short.
I have no idea, to be honest with you, Nathan. I haven't done Mexico this game, so I was good last game. My only goal is to win, so I'm expecting to win at every track.
Certainly, and I'm sure you'll have a good chance in doing so. Anyway, of course, with the new season of WR coming up, you have E Series, which you'll probably do on the odd occasion, and then PSGL, PCF1. How's the preparation going to work for those three leagues? Because there's always going to be, well, most of the time, a different track. How does that preparation work for you and the team then? Because it's going to be just switching constantly.
I think as soon as WR and PSGL both start, well, PSGL's already started, but when WR starts, I'm probably just going to do those two leagues and that's it. Ironman also is going to finish soon, so yeah, just two races a week, which is fine for me. Just probably practice during the week for PSGL, and then on the weekend, you have a few days of practice. You don't have to sweat too much for WR. But yeah, I'm just excited for the next races.
Good to hear. Well, that's all from me. Anything from you, Corey?
No, just like obviously with quali, you said it was rusty. I saw you have a little bit of a moment on your final run in qualifying 3. No, you got a 0.9 in the last time you qualified in Brazil. Was that on the cards here today? If you didn't have that moment in sector 2?
Probably not. As I said, like I didn't really practice on my PC 8 minutes before the session, so yeah, maybe if I practiced a bit more, then yeah. But the lap I did in PSGL was perfect, so I don't think I was getting any close to that anyway.
Yeah, no, that's all from me. Congratulations on the victory, and we'll hopefully see you back at the top next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Right, there we go, Corey. And my room's even darker now because I can't get to my light because it's the other side of the room. And when I started streaming, it was light, and now it's going dark. So that's not ended well. Actually, I've got an idea. White picture on my screen So it goes light.
Hey, we can see him. We can see him.
There we go, it's worked. But no, what a race that was. Absolute insane stuff from our drivers today. Of course, controversy near the rear of the field with some of our teams doing things they probably shouldn't have done. Naughty, naughty. But either way, you're fighting for a championship. You're going to do what you can to get as many points as possible. But next week, Mexico, as I should have known, but I didn't, thanks to Julian. What do you think of that one, Corey? Because I think, yet again, like I said to Otis, we get another situation like Brazil. Such a short track, couple of long DRS zones. The drivers are all together once again.
Yeah, it gets close. It gets very, very close, especially with those DRS zones. I mean, look how long that start-finish straight is. Coming down into turn one with the DRS, you could see cars coming from 2, maybe 3 cars back challenging for overtakes. It all comes down to how close this pack is going to be. And like you mentioned, a short track as well. So there are fast lap times. So it opens the door for qualifying as well. Get more runs in. And don't forget, we've got a full qualifying. So if they make mistakes, do they go an extra double out lap like we've seen be so crucial here in Brazil? It's all up in the air. And of course, tyre strategy. What's it going to be? 1 stop, 2 stop? You've seen both here today. And next week does open a lot of questions.
It certainly does. But of course, we come to the time where we end the stream. There we go. I'll get my words right. Of course, a big thank you to PSGL for hosting this series. And of course, a bigger thank you to SRC, because without them, we wouldn't be here anyway. Of course, they're helping us fund the prize pool and, are our total sponsor for this series. So a big thank you to Yorit Ties and the team over at SRC, where, of course, you always experience excellence. So, guys, a big thank you for joining us this evening. We're back next Friday for PSGL E-Series. Of course, Monday we have the PS Tiers. Wednesday, PCF1 is back. And then, of course, Thursdays we have our PC Tiers Tier 2 to Tier 4 streams here live on YouTube. So, a big thank you all for joining, and we'll see you again next time. Good night.